Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to Series Z Apex Legends. We're kicking off week 3 of the season. My name is Yeso, back to be your host once again, and excited to kick off another awesome week of Series Z Apex Legends action. Of course, looking back at the first 2 weeks, week 1 dominated by Team Vizio. Meanwhile, week 2 was owned by Team Excedrin. Both of those teams duking it out near the top of the standings, but everybody has had their moments so far this season. We'll have to see who can make a statement here tonight. Of course, it's still at the beginning of a long season, but it's been a very fun start, and it only promises to continue here. Now, before we jump into the fun, I do want to break down just how things work for those of you who may be new to Series Z and what we do here, okay? Now, Series Z is a professional esports open circuit that absolutely anyone can join across multiple different titles. We've got Guilty Gear Strive, we've got Halo Infinite, and of course, Apex Legends. Now, the way things work is players and teams, they go out and they compete in our open qualifiers, and the best of the best make it into Series Z. What does it mean for those players? Well, they get to sign a contract, they make a monthly salary, they get sponsored by one of our partner brands, and they get to compete weekly for points and prize money. In Apex, it's every Tuesday night in an open tournament against other open squads, just like they used to be themselves. And then every single Wednesday, they play against some of the best teams from all across North America. So if you and your friends want to get in on the fun, head over to matchareno.com/ESA to sign up. You can also use !sign up in Twitch chat right now. And if you have any further questions, esportsarena.com has you covered. Now, as we get ready for the day, I got a couple of very good friends joining us on the cast today. Jamerson and Zephyr will be bringing you all the action, and I'll be here to break things down in between all 6 of our games. But let's not waste any time, folks. Let's get right into the fun and kick off another awesome week of Series Z Apex Legends.
You are the...
Hey, welcome everybody.
Series E Apex Legends.
All of World's Edge explodes into chaos, and G2 around the corner, taking what is rightfully theirs.
War with our Ash player Musa involved, and it's going to quickly switch to the Peacekeeper, putting down damage quick as
that Fury starts it off with the devotion and does so much work. May have single-handedly clutched it for Vizio, and with the last shotgun shot, does it.
Let's get the games underway, man. I'm ready to go. Welcome everybody to Series E, and oh my goodness, the year's going by so quickly because we are already into week number 3 of season 5 here for Series E, and it's been a really fun one so far. I mean, we've had a lot of big changes coming in with the patch Zephyr, and things are being shaken up a little bit. It's been interesting to see the kind of changes we've been seeing in terms of legend picks and compositions over the past few weeks.
I was about to say, it feels like it was only yesterday that we saw what was the patch for Season 13 come through, and I believe we are sitting on today what is Season 13.1. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I've got my days in a bit of a mix, but I'm pretty sure we are also seeing the additional patch, so any changes that have already come through for comp are continuing to evolve and change here as we're already approaching week 3.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, some network changes coming in as well, so hopefully that'll help out our servers today. We start getting pro nights up again. Let's go ahead and talk about what's going on today, though. We are going to be playing, of course, 6 open matches. That's going to be played across World's Edge along with Storm Point. We have $500 on the line. Of course, the big share going over to first place. We'll be walking away with $350. Across those 6 games, teams will be competing to get as many points as possible by the end of the evening. You get those points by, of course, placing well in each game and kill points. Each kill point netting you 1 point, and placement points going all the way up to 12 points for first place. And we've been seeing, particularly here on open nights, of course, Zephyr, when maybe the field is a bit more favored in terms of our partnered squads, that the tempo is brought up incredibly high because teams want those kill points.
Yeah, absolutely. For the last few weeks here, especially coming into the new season, it's been a sort of proving grounds for a lot of our sponsored teams as they're trying to kind of make a name for themselves and push themselves to be above the rest, especially when we start talking about those overall standings. I know it's very early on in the season to kind of pay notion towards it, but it is something that pays forward, especially as we start making our way towards the halfway point or the end of Season 5 here. And obviously, as we heard from Yeso at the beginning of the night here, we had a fantastic start by the new Vizio squad, but a reoccurrence from Excedrin last week. So nothing really set in stone as of yet.
Yeah, I feel like this week, though, our partner squads, Excedrin, Intel, Nerf, Razor, Tyson, and Vizio will have their work cut out for them because we do have some stronger teams, I believe, this time around. Lazarus joining the fray. Last week, we even saw Glitch Gaming really throw a glitch in the matrix for a lot of our squads and giving them some tough fights, but we'll also have to worry about team start of fight. Always, I believe, a fan favorite coming through. Matt Pickett, Aves, and Rakanishu. Those 3 squads really looking to see what they have up against our partner squads, especially seeing as how many of them were past former Series E. So it should be extremely fun coming into tonight's games.
Absolutely here. If I had to maybe build upon any other narratives that currently exist here, I'm still looking for some improvement, particularly out of Tyson and Razor. Vizio had a fantastic start, as we've already kind of questioned, albeit last week was a little bit more rocky in our open night. I still hold a lot of faith for what we saw out of them, not just here, but also within the qualifiers back when they were, of course, void. But for Razor and Tyson, they've yet to prove themselves in my eyes, and I obviously know what these 6 players are capable of. We've seen them across a multitude of tournaments as well as our qualifiers here, but they haven't really netted themselves much of anything when it comes to the official Season 5.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to looking at Team Razor, it's, well, of course, if you look back through all the Challenger circuits, playing as Optimal Ambition, is that they were always kind of quietly successful, and they haven't found that quiet success quite yet in Series E. They're very akin to what Excedrin likes to do. It's a very slow play. They like to play the macro. They like to try and make it to the late game and then get maybe, 17 points on the board with the win. That's kind of been their MO, but they have not been able to kind of find their footing in those regards. But we've seen that when it comes down to clutch time, that Optimal Ambition in those last few days, they do know how to play a very aggressive game. But again, it's about being able to find those moments beforehand, because this is such a long season. When you have 3 to 4 months of gameplay, you still need to perform every single week. For Team Tyson, I mean, this is a squad that I think everyone was super excited for, coming in as Team Redeem, one of the most successful teams when it came down to Challenger Circuit. Again, a team that has been struggling. They have been, it looks like, trying to find their identity again, kind of moving off of some of the Watsons that we were seeing coming out from them. So again, I think it's just growing pains coming out from both of these squads right now.
Well, they've got plenty of time to grow, as you have alluded to, but I obviously want to see some life surge back into them because remember, the true test hasn't come through yet. We're still waiting to see how these partnered squads will fare once we reintroduce Pro Knight into the mix. And as it stands right now, you know, I look at a team like Vizio after what they have shown us here in the last few weeks. And obviously, like you have alluded to with some of the inklings of success from qualifiers, we know they are capable, but I don't know if they're actually going to be able to kind of put up what might be that challenge when we approach Pro Knight. So that's a really big question. And obviously coming into Open Night with a level of confidence and an absolute control over all 20 of these squads gives me the impression for when we look at Wednesday.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions in the air because, like you said, not having Pro Knights for the last few weeks has been a bother. Not having too many scrims as well when we have the biggest LAN coming up in a month. And so the last time we got to see a lot of these teams was, of course, at Sweden LAN. And since then, the groundwork kind of the layout of Apex has changed massively since. I mean, the addition of course, a new legend and of course a lot of buffs and nerfs coming in, the weapons being massively changed. Like you said, there's questions left and right and abound, so I'm really excited to get back into Pro Knights because throughout Series Z, I mean, that's where our teams have always been tested, and that's where we are able to kind of really gauge how good is our eye test. I mean, Open Night is one thing, but when it comes to Pro Night, there were teams in the past that did end up succeeding. I mean, take a look at Optic Gaming. They were a team that were able to succeed on those Pro Nights as well, albeit not to the same kind of standard that they had on Open Nights, but they were hanging around, making sure that they were securing 30 to 40 points, which is always a good kind of litmus test to have when you have a huge stacked lobby like that.
Absolutely. And obviously I brought it up a little bit earlier on, but we are coming to an even further change of what is season 13. Obviously, you've mixed up what's the crafter, right? You've dropped both the car SMG and the wingman into the crafter, and obviously that's going to change up what we kind of see in terms of weapon dominance. I know at the beginning of season 13 we were at this massive heavy weapons control across the board here, especially with the 301 sitting within the crafter. That's not a thing anymore, right? You have the opportunity for that within ground loot. Obviously some micro changes across the board, as well as some mix for lifeline. But personally, I don't think with some of the changes that we've seen, that's going to be something that reintroduces itself to the meta anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, Lifeline's been a legend that fell out of meta like 3 years ago and just never came back. It's unfortunate, especially, you know, given her name, right? I mean, she's kind of just flatlined at that point. And hopefully eventually she can come back, but I think some of the changes that had to be made to her were absolutely necessary, unfortunately, because of the things that teams like Fnatic in the past were able to do with her. I mean, we already see what the late rotate teams that rotate through the ring and just soak up ring 1, ring 2 damage are able to do. Now, if you had been able to add on the Doc Heal drone, how bad that would have been compounded. I mean, there have been no teams actually going into circle in round number 1, round number 2, and everyone opting to maybe like go in for the late rotate round number 3. So these were necessary changes that came into Lifeline. Hopefully, though, she will eventually be able to get back in. I mean, she's one of the few legends that we don't see anymore, even when teams are kind of just like messing around and they're like, let's have a fun composition or let our, you know, let our chat decide who we're playing tonight.
I have to say, it's kind of sad when the quicker pick that comes out is a Mirage any day of the week in comparison to a Lifeline when teams start trying to have a good time here. But hey, with new legends like Newcastle, they've kind of taken the place here. And obviously, the two of us haven't had the opportunity to sit down yet for Season 13. And trust me, I love hearing your opinion when it comes to kind of the nitty-gritty with Apex and getting into maybe what might be a little bit more of the kind of macro, micro analytics here, since that tends to be your expertise. So if you have any opinions regarding Newcastle, I would love to hear them.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic kind of off-tank legend to be able to play. You've been able to at least get inklings of the potential of that legend. If you've checked out Albraleli since the new season dropped, I mean, he was definitely grinding out with that character just in case, but I don't think we'll really be seeing him. There's just too much, you know, reliance upon Gibraltar still, and that dome of protection, I think, is the most important part, is that you provide coverage from above you. Newcastle is all just in front of you with both his shield along with his ultimate there. So until maybe there's a kind of change to the shape of either of those, I don't really see Gibraltar falling out of favor for Newcastle. I could see Newcastle slotting in as a third pick if people aren't playing the Caustic. The mobility, of course, that Valkyrie still provides is completely unmatched. And so I think Valkyrie and Gibraltar still the top 2 picks. And then Newcastle maybe can slot in as the third pick. But I would still see him down there in a 2-3% pick rate overall. But again, having those double shields, I did the math, 45 seconds, almost unbroken amount of shields with him and Gibraltar is, I think there's potential for it. But it's going to take a team that knows how to run that kind of composition well.
Yeah, and the certain sort of strategy that you have to have alongside with it. You obviously don't have the pairing of such high mobility, and then you get into situations where you kind of need to have a hold over where that zone is and how you're going to play it out fairly early on. So that in itself also requires a certain set of expertise. And I'll be honest, it's not something that I've had the opportunity to see as of yet. I mean, we talk about open night, some of these subtle scrims, even a little bit of the ranked, as you just brought up. It pales in comparison to the active environment that exists within scrims here. So for people like us, I mean, we've really been in the dark. We don't know what the upper limits or what the echelon is at this current point. And obviously Newcastle, that hasn't seen any particular nerf, so we're still kind of within the same realm as it has been for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it all has been theory crafting, but I'm still this guy that's sitting over here thinking, yeah, Fuse can work in competitive. We should see a lot more Fuse. I don't know what's going on. So I don't know.
It can,
you know, it's always theory crafting. It's always theory crafting. And then that's what I love about kind of what happens in Apex Legends is that even though these sleeper picks can still come into play, like Watson, a lot of teams were kind of messing around with her, but the general consensus was, she's still kind of mid. But then we got to see a lot of her during Sweden, the amount of space that she was able to control. And it always comes down back to that dynamic when it comes to Apex Legends, is that if you're one of the few legends that are not being picked, and only 1, maybe 2 teams are running that legend, the power grows pretty exponentially. And so Newcastle could be very similar to that, along with Fuse. So it's always about the theory crafting. It's always about the kind of meta that builds evolves around it, and of course the micro meta that happens there usually during tournament play, where teams start slowly picking it up. I mean, we were seeing a little bit more of Watson, a little bit more of Watson as the days went on for Sweden as well. So again, it's always coming down to just how the players are feeling on that day. And I hope you guys are feeling well, because it looks like we do finally have our first game underway. Had a little hiccup getting one of our players in, but it looks like we are mostly ready, heading into World's Edge for our first game of the day. This is Series E, week number 3. Heading into World's Edge, and it looks like nothing really interesting going on. We did have last week Team Excedrin getting contested off, drop down by Thermal Station. Team Vizio was as well, but it seems like it will be free for both of these squads. No one really trying to contest them right now.
Right. We obviously get into the first game of the day when it comes to any kind of map, and it's sometimes like considered both the first and the fourth game to be our quote-unquote first games of the day here, as most teams are still addressing what could potentially kind of phase them here in the early 50-50s. Meanwhile, though, back at Lava Siphon, I mean, we're already seeing that early trade that you had brought up, I believe. Is this Excedrin?
This is Team Nerf, who just can't catch a break week in, week out. A Lava Siphon is, of course, always hot contested. It doesn't matter what the lobby is. Teams understand the power of it, the amazing loot, and, of course, that central location right now. Nerf, though, Messiah stuck outside, does have the rest of his squad pulling through. It's going to be the big boys, so that Caustic really going to have to throw down some great barrels there, covering the doors. They've already gotten the first knock. That's Lane falling, unfortunately. Another fight breaking out. It's going to be Glitch Gaming picking up that one.
Woo. Reparations being our first team eliminated here from, of course, at the side of Glitch Gaming. Meanwhile, the fight continues here. I love this rotation back around the side here from Masai to take out certified BMers. It looked like Nerf were in Supreme Crawl, but Glitch Gaming, who we tune into, already taking shots in return.
Oh, I'm definitely seeing a Glitch in the Matrix here. Revenant coming out from Glitch Gaming, as they are contesting over at Overlook, and I believe this was the case last week as well. They're cornered, though. as we are seeing that their meds are fairly low. They don't have any more shield cells. No, Glitch. Sushi just needs to go ahead and hand those off. We do have the silence coming in, and now they want to try and make the push. Bubble a little bit late, but that Valkyrie is going to give him the loop. Nice big shot with that PK. He might actually just go ahead and die to the environment, but it's traded away. It looks like 1 for 1 at the very least. The silence, unfortunately, hitting that wall there, but Sushi is still going to be able to buy time. Now, Flinzar has only the big meds to deal with. He is literally one shot as he pops that med kit. He needs the coverage there. Kaisener ends up finishing off their Valkyrie. Now, the 2v1, they should go for that peek at the same time. In just a moment, Flinzar spots him out, places one very cautiously. He tries to go for the slide, but now it's just Sushi by himself. Doesn't have a silence as well. The 48 now pulls out the re-45, down to just one shot remaining here. And he does finish them off, getting that, but the gas almost ends up taking him out. They do survive. Now they need to plug in their Valkyrie. A lot of fighting taking place across the board, though.
Yeah, continuing to see squads fall all across the map here. 0 as well here, just only a second ago within potentially this fragment area there. But I gotta say, pulling back to what was that Glitch fight, absolutely disgustingly close for, in my opinion, really no reason there. I mean, you set it up perfectly. You go for it. You say you've got the double advantage, 2v1, a separate peak that you can come through and just dominate what would be the drop there on that costing, and that didn't work out that way, and they put themselves in a situation that could have gone horrifically wrong here.
A lot of fighting taking place, but GG are happy with that team fight win because the ring is pulling away into their favor. They can take their time. Unfortunately, they need to find some more loot. They used up a lot of the heals in that fight, so they might have to wrap around to their north, maybe go to Climatizers, try to find something there. They're going to have to do it quickly. Team Start a Fight are starting to roll up on them right now, as it looks like they might have been clued in to that drop ship, getting their Valkyrie player back on in. Might have called in all the rest of the enemies here. Reg, though, playing over on the Fragment East side now, rolling through. They are picking up the crypto. Like I said, I've been loving the meta that we have been seeing throughout since Sweden. Crypto was also a sleeper pick that we're seeing a little bit of throughout Sweden.
Yeah, I've always hold a special heart, or a special place in my heart for the occasional crypto here, and you know, it allows for you to make some of those more crucial decisions with confidence, especially in a game that can become a bit of a misnomer here. And obviously we've seen its tempo, of course, more often in our region of EMEA, but I know no one wants to hear about that. But it still is one of my favorite picks, albeit it can be capitalized on if you're not careful, and it loses some of that power, especially when you don't have that opportunity to come for the full claps with that EMP, or if you don't pull the trigger at the most optimal moment. Meanwhile, though, here, speaking of moments to be had, we look at Survey Camp, and it seems like shots are being found here by this Intel squad. We know how aggressive this roster can get. You see Phony already launching forward here.
Yeah, James Fearless. He's just absolutely beaming again. They've already gotten the first knock, but they've finished off the entire squad. 14 squads already with round 1 closing. The Team Intel, this has been their MO now, coming out from Climatizers. Very similar to the way Cloud9 will play things out. Go ahead and loot that one up, rotate up towards Survey Camp, try to find a team. And if you are, you will most likely going to be able to find an isolated fight there. And that's what they do. Team Intel getting their first kill points on the board. And now it's about rolling through with that momentum. So we'll see if they can continue to keep up this pace.
They've got potentially a buff to be had here, running with Phony, coming through from what is that new Esports Arena roster. No Impulsive Dream going into game 1 here, which is definitely fairly interesting. Literally last night, James Fearless and Phony were playing pubs together, just having a good old time, and now they turn around and they're competing in ESA. And we know how much of an advantage it is, especially to have someone like Phony on your squad. I mean, James Fearless and Phony, I mean, they went toe-to-toe in terms of the combat for that #1 kind of MVP position last season. Meanwhile, though, we check in with Tyson, a team that is yet to be tested, currently taking shots to be had. Oxy Aries on top of the car here, just waiting.
Yeah, they're going for the peak at the same time. Nice collapse, essentially, there with Z Davis. He's still playing on that Watson, though, and we'll see if he ends up swapping away from that, but it looks like picking up these first few kill points in the game #1 will boost their confidence overall in being able to run this composition. So Only end up getting that 1 kill point, but they're happy to do it because take a look at this ring. It should continue to pull on this way towards Overlook. If it doesn't, if it starts going down towards the tracks, or maybe even favoring a little bit more towards Climatizer, this is a very favorable position to be able to rotate out from.
Yeah, we know for a fact that this is definitely going to be that hard Overlook pull here, and just having at least the complete dominance that we see currently out of Tyson, where they've got their hand over that entire region, goes to embellish what is that kind of rotation you talk about there. Granted, I'd love to pull back, potentially see once we get the full final close in for 1, see if it's going to be a little bit more of that open-ended Overlook where we pull more towards the village, or it falls directly into the POI itself, because depending on that, that's going to be a huge impetus for the movement of what will be Tyson there.
Yeah, for Razor, though, they're just playing a mid-level position right now. It's just kind of in the middle of the zone where they have a bit more flexibility in the way they want to rotate around this. They also have that high ground advantage looking over Fragment East. There aren't as many teams, though, to run into unless Team Intel have their way about it. Phony, though, ends up going it down. So that's a 1-for-1 exchange up against Glitch Gaming now. James Fearless on the flank.
Very
on the left.
nice.
Now Mooney coming in, dishing out some damage here. We'll see if they can try and get Phony back on up. There is the bubble res. So Team Intel will be playing off of the advantage, and the third party actually comes in. Clinical ends up taking out Sushi. So it's Team Intel really being able to read the room here and not getting overly aggressive on that. Or maybe that knock onto Phony allowed them to play a little less aggressive there and not fall trapped to the third party.
Wow, and Glitch Gaming are completely removed there at the back end of what was that third party. So damage provided from both angles will finally put them to rest. Meanwhile, Nerf here, you can see the Nox gas grenade has pushed them back from what was their assault into this building here. It is a full 3-man. They can't quite break through those caustic barrels, though.
Oh, they do have Force actually just taking that one up. The first knock onto Trap Lord, bubbled down now as he wants to continue his push.
Very nice.
Clearing out the barrels along the way. They're going to go ahead and funnel them down onto the first floor as the bubble res was canceled there. Pushing out once again. They have him cornered. They just need the third to join up, and that's going to be Knee Reaper going down. So Team Nerf, all of our partner squads essentially finding a fight, except for, I want to say, Excedrin at this point of the game.
They've got a little bit more heavier of a rotation when we look at this zone in particular, so maybe a bit slower, but hey, it's no credit to be found just yet. Meanwhile, Razor, they're finding what was those shots had by Nerf and are potentially looking to slide from behind now. We both know Nerf looked fairly healthy in their response here, but I love this angle from Hollow in preparation for that stairwell. Gotta be careful though, too much separation could be punishing if not played correctly.
They are keeping them contained to the first floor right now, but as Hollow gives up that high ground, though, they might have to go ahead and call it on this one. They know that the full reset has come out, and that is what Razor's going to do. They're going to go ahead and back away throughout all of this, though. It looks like Chug Gunners are going to go down. That's going to be Team Intel finding their third fight of the game. Remember, that was that kind of delayed third party coming out from Clinical and his squad. So that's going to be 7 kill points now in the favor of Team Intel.
And we know for a fact, I mean, this is how they like to play this one out. They came out of what was that draft show, talking about how, I mean, the best thing that they learned from their participation in what was Season 4 is just the fact that on open nights, I mean, that's your opportunity to just roll out there and dominate, because you're not going to get the opportunity to kind of limit test or push your team to perform potentially on those pro nights. So when we start talking about, you know, even things like relegation points, this is your best opportunity. And it's something, say, squads like Vizio and Razor and Tyson have to learn.
Yeah, for Vizio and Tyson, though, they are both in a beautiful spot. You do have that third ring pull away, so a lot of Overlook is still in. The rocks north of Overlook is also one you have to consider, but that sniper post seems to be the most dangerous one. Bubble's already been used by Blitz there as Sung narrowly misses going down. Never mind, Kubsky connects with that 30-30 from an off angle, and he's up there on the rocks. They've already used the bubble. 20 seconds for Blitz in there, and I don't think they're going to be able to get Sung back up in time. Maybe he can get up these stairs, but you can see Blitzen taking his own defensive bombardment there. And for the time being, Sung is going to be on the outside looking in. The teams are starting to come in. They are getting thirsty for these kills. He should be going down relatively shortly now. Arcstar in, checking the wrong angle. Born gets the knock onto Vizay's dad there as he charges forward. Bring this one down to a 2v2. Defensive bombardment thrown down on top of them. And it's just a question, how many teams are involved in this fight?
Multiple of potentially here. You can see Oxy Ares is what eliminates Oxygen there in those final moments. So you know for a fact you have, what is it, Tyson squad also within play here. Meanwhile, Sung still alive below for the potential revive. If you can find the rotation, there's no longer the pressure that did exist prior to. And oh gosh, Borton doing a great job to continually find those beams that prevent what could have been this full collapse from Tyson.
Yeah, Tyson just falling back over towards the engineering bay over here.
Okay,
and, they're gonna be fine for now, as it looks like they were playing this one pretty cautiously in terms of trying to go in for that third party, just looking for the free kill points. Oxy Ares at least contributing there to Vizio being able to stabilize, and I believe throughout all of this, Sung was still bleeding out, so I don't believe he got thirsted. He is back into the game, so Vizio were able to hold on, and the tenacity, but particularly the sprays coming out from both Blitzen and Borton were able to just dissuade any other team from pushing out. So great defiance coming out from Team Vizio there to hold on. We are now down to 9 squads remaining here. 23 players left, so a lot of battered squads in this lobby right now.
Mind you, we did just see in that kill feed there that Excedrin was officially eliminated. And it's a bit of a surprise because they were the ones that found actually a successful start up against Intel, my apologies, out there towards the north. The problem that comes through, Lazarus. They swoop up from behind, pull off a potential third party, and help Intel actually wipe that squad out in the midst of what was this fight taking place between Vizio and Tyson here. So, I mean, you asked for a little bit of the action to be found from Excedrin, and they tried, but it was not successful.
Yeah, Team Intel, they were able to plug James Fearless back on in. He will loot up once again, so it was nice for them to find that reprieve. A lot of this does come down to how the lobbies played out. Of course, this has been an incredibly fast-paced game. 9 squads in zone number 3 is not something that we are quite used to. Maybe a little bit more here on open nights, but that kind of space, that lack of teams in the lobby really allowed them to go for that. Team Razor now getting off their perch on that epicenter side. They didn't really get too far, making a bridge here. Blake Q was dropped low, but Hollow is there to back him up, forcing out that bubble, getting that crack as they decide to try and back away from this one. But now Razor cutting off this team and having control over this bridge can be incredibly strong. In 15 seconds, they'll realize that they'll probably have to make the trek across towards the eastern edge. But for the time being, this is going to be an opportunity for them to try and find an isolated fight here on the western side.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see them already setting up, of course, Box T with the utilization of those gas traps. That's going to prevent any kind of heavy-handed rotations that could potentially come through. And this is actually that Lazarus squad that we were watching out for today, who just recently, of course, helped out in the fight against Excedrin. Granted, they're pushed up fairly hard back against the wall here. Thankfully for them, they do have the potential for rotation around the other side here and not directly taking it toe-to-toe against that bridge. There's a few exposures that do exist out there in the open. You can actually see them being pinged out. Right now, they're on the mini-map. Granted, there is a big split. You've got G7 Dank all the way down on that high ground.
Look, all the teams that were really favoring this side of Overlook, Ring does pull away towards the tracks, towards the bridges. And so Vizio and Team Tyson will have to make that rotate. Nerf actually going in with that skyward dive. The landing should be clear. Again, this lobby has been cleared down to 9 squads, so plenty of room still remaining. They do find their way into this card, lock it up as well with those caustic barrels. Eventually, they might receive the focus of all of our squads right now. With so much space, teams will have the time to really work with and try and maybe break this one apart. Razor, though, holding down on their bridge. It looks like Lazarus are ready to make their push. Box of T setting up the line of defense there with the barrels, but those will eventually go down. Blake, realizing the arcs are on the other side of the car, gonna have to go ahead and slow down on his heels. A defensive bombardment being used from one side, and Blake can hold out on his own for now, but it looks like he will toss that one down. Bubble has been used as Razor now have to worry about their flank as well. Nice connect onto Flush, though, is going to give them a little bit more confidence now. They want to try and push out, but 2 of them been cracked. Hollow's up here by himself. He's going to go down. That's Bird picking that one up. A second one out as Blake will fall, and it's just Box of T left here to slowly get picked apart. Little fight left in him, but he will go down. 8 squads remaining as Tyson now will go ahead and creep their way from one position to the next. Team Intel are coming in for the third party up against Lazarus. That's James Fearless being able to get that knock onto G7. Dank Busy will fall next, and James Fearless is taking out Lazarus all on his own right now. Well, you got to imagine that there was help from the rest of the squad. There we go. Messiah picking up that last one, unfortunately, though. But that's going to be Team Intel with another team fight win. And this is, what, their 3rd or 4th so far this game. They're getting pushed, but Mooney dishes out some huge damage. He will fall now as the team start a fight. Comes in for, I would say, what is basically the 4th party in this area.
Here's the problem. They've got a mix of pressure here, not just from what is this fight against Intel, but also Nerf as well. But Vizio across, apparently, too, on the top side of this bridge. Now, that damage that's been laid out will prevent Intel from likely finding their way back into this game. You can see them held up against that rock there. So what was a phenomenal dominance had by Intel this game might be coming towards its end fairly shortly here. But granted, as you brought up, before that took place, I mean, that's a successful 3 or 4 squads. That in its own right is basically a win in terms of points.
Yeah, they've hit top 6. We'll see if James Fearless can maybe try and secure top 5. Remember, every team you out-survive at this point gets you more and more points.
Massive.
Every team will get you at least 1 extra point on the board, and Team Vizio getting a much-needed top-off here. As in the mid-game, remember, they did end up struggling there. They weren't really able to recover loot boxes, but it looks like Borton will be able to spot out James Fearless. Here comes Sung, and they will go down in 6th place, but still great game number 1 for them, getting at least, I believe, 10 kill points, along with the 3 or 4 in terms of placement points there. Now, it looks like Team Vizio ready to try and turn on their next target, and that is going to be Team Nerf. Hold up inside of that car ahead of them right now. Team Redeem and, Team Tyson on that high ground angle are going to be forced down, it seems, with this circle closing in.
Yeah, you got one rat just ahead of Tyson, but it's mostly these 4 3-man squads start a fight here as well. They're in that cart. Potentially play around this one. You obviously, coming into this zone, want to maybe put yourself into the position where you set yourself up to be on that train line directly. Meanwhile, Nerf now on the defense. This can be incredibly difficult to take, but remember, they're taking shots from behind. Turns, steps forward here, has to run back to bubble, but is punished in return there now. Messiah, very good drop down there from the cart to eliminate what is blitz there. Borton still trying to fly this one out. Potentially the defensive bombardment going to give Force the time necessary to get turns back up with that gold bag. That is just beautiful.
All right, Vizio, what have you got? How much longer can you survive for? It's a 3v1. We got team start of fights, and it looks like the red's coming in. Borton does get finished off. It's our final 3 squads, excuse me. We got Tyson team start a fight as well, playing over both of these train carts now, but Rakinishu does have to back away. His last bat being utilized here. There's still plenty of time. 44 seconds now for Team Nerf to try and get something going from outside of that car, but you can see how they're kind of holed up there, a little bit stuck. They do have loot boxes around them to try and top off from, so this is still looking good now for Team Nerf going into this final fight. 5 bats for Force there, so they are doing extremely well in the heals. They'll be able to top off the full, and if they do take some damage, that bubble along with that healing reprieve that they'll get is going to be absolutely massive for them. Team start a fight, though, trying to keep them at bay, trying to create this sandwich and maybe force them into Team Tyson.
Forced it. Yeah, at this point, I mean, it's going to be so difficult. You need a source of cover almost immediately if you're Nerf coming out of that cart there. And potentially your best opportunity is to take this toe-to-toe against Tyson. And that should enable Start a Fight to find the win in this game. I mean, it is, I like saying it, their game to lose at this point. They have the dominant position going into the final close here. Nerf biding their time, just waiting for the final moment that they have to come out from that cart there.
Oh, we do have a lot of throwables still being thrown down. We've got Rakinishu with that nade as well. They don't have a defensive bombardment, but they've already forced out a bubble from Team Tyson. Now the fight coming towards them as the Oxstars are coming in, and it looks like Team Start a Fight can just wait this one out. Nerf, though, are still healthy, playing off the top of this train tracks for now. So it might just come down to a two-team fight ultimately, as Tyson are on the ropes right now. Z Davis will go down to that Nox gas as Matt Pickett picks that one up. And Nerf are able to delay long enough, but a huge arc star on top of Messiah. Team Start a Fight are picking apart both of our final remaining squads. They're playing this one extremely safely. Matt Pickett with a 30-30 on the outside. You can see Abe not even taking the time to heal up as the bubble res actually comes through. Bubble has been used by Tyson, but the fight is still there on top of them now. Team Start a Fight doing massive damage. They smell blood in the water, and this is going to be the death blow here for our squads. The Team Start a Fight end up walking away with the win here in game number 1.
What a fantastic win at that. I mean, absolutely perfect control that we set up there in those final moments. And you could see, I mean, Start a Fight, they had the kind of same interpretation that I did going into those final moments. We see what is Nerf kind of come out of their cart, and you expect that fight to almost take place immediately. But in the fact that Nerf was actually able to find position on top of the cart and continue to survive for that extra 20 to 30, you saw extremely quickly how Start a Fight actually pulled back and reassessed that situation before then going on to find that win once the zone was more particularly in their favor.
This was definitely an odd game. Starting off, there was so much fighting before round 1 even started. Closing, I believe we were already down to 16 or 15 squads here. Glitch Gaming, this was the close clutch up, I believe, between them. Yeah, he almost went down to the lingering gas there. You have to remember, even though the caustic barrels get cleared, there's still a delay. You still take the tick damage. He was down to 1 HP before they were able to bring them back on in. For Team Nerf, though, despite not being able to get the win in this game, they had a lot of team fights throughout. In the early game, in the mid game, we saw on this rotation. And so they are still happy with the points that they were able to put up here in game number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. We're able to transfer what could have been some of those successful fights, as well as their position to easily something contained within the top 5 here. I'm also extremely proud regarding Tyson. I think this is one of the best showings we've seen from them thus far. And while, yes, they themselves weren't able to transition to a win, they also are going to net themselves, hopefully, a great start to today's games. But, of course, we take a look once again towards all these fights that transpired here. This one was huge. Vizio, after dominating the level of control on Intel, tried to take this one away from Nerf. And once again, they were able to defend, able to come out on top, retain the position that would at least carry them forward there to their second place finish.
Yeah, I just want to note that there's just been a lot of great decision making. This one came down to Nerf. Yeah, they found a great spot. They found a great spot, like you said, buying time on top of that train. But the problem was that Team Start a Fight were just absolutely deadly accurate. Not with just their guns, but that nade, that arc star, being able to take out one, forcing out a bubble. They were able to slowly pick that one apart. So what a beautiful game, but we saw a lot of teams succeeding here. It's still a big question what the leaderboard's going to look like. So for right now, let's go ahead and send it to Yesa to break down game number 1 a little bit more as we prepare for game number 2.
Nice win there for Start a Fight to kick off the day. A squad of, probably some names you recognize if you've been around Series E Apex Legends for a while, because that is all Series E veterans, with Matt Pickett, Aves, and Rack grabbing the victory. Let's take a look at our champion squad here for this first game, because honestly, really solid performance, and we'll likely get another look at that, final circle play there from Start a Fight. And I just do want to say, really well played, and great patience from the squad, understanding that they had the advantage and they played it slow to grab the victory. There are the stats for all 3 of our players there. They pick up 6 total kills, so not a huge game, but at the very least, 18 points up on the board. Everybody contributing in the damage department. Rakinishu certainly leading the way there with over 1,300 damage of his own. But Start a Fight looking just really solid in this first game. And let's take a look at that Mobile 1 high performance moment. And I imagine it's probably going to be the end game, and it is. So this is really well played, and it's important to point out here that Nerf and Tyson are both trying to kind of hold ground around that train car, and Start a Fight's on the outside, and Start a Fight very early on recognized, hey, the circle's going to pull to us. They have to come out, so all we have to do is bide our time. Let them fight each other. We'll throw utility at range. You heard Jamerson mentioning the Arc Star. Of course, they're using the Valkyrie rockets on cooldown, and it sets it up so they can just bit by bit by bit, whittle down those health bars to the point where as soon as Nerf and Tyson want to come out of the train car, it's just easy pickings for the start a fight team and a very clean win for them. So just really well played, and that's kind of that veteran patience you get. And certainly, we talk a lot about on open night where you want to play more aggressive, right? You want to push for more fights. You want to take that KP and get as many points as possible. It's certainly a different play style than pro night, but a veteran squad like this also recognizes when it's time to slow it down and start a fight. Certainly did that. So well played from them as they grab a win to kick off the day. 5 more games, though, still to go, so we'll have more action. We're going to a quick break right now. When we come back, though, Jamerson and Zephyr will get you ready for Game 2.
I'll be loading up, they wanna package this. Pray for peace, pacifist, I'm never old enough to give a promise.
When the chicken is this crispy and this tasty, it doesn't matter what else is for dinner. Tyson crispy strips are so delicious, they'll be your favorite part of every meal. More crispy chicken, more family faves, more to love. Tyson.
All right, so it was Team Start a Fight that ended up taking game number 1, but we saw amazing performances across the board from largely most of our partner squads, Team Intel, Team Vizio, Team Nerf, all of them being able to find successful team fights, and that's why we have such an incredibly close top 4. I have never really seen a breakdown in points quite like this, Zephyr.
No, I mean, this is a heavy-handed start towards a lot of these teams. I mean, anything from 4th upwards is something that you can arguably say you potentially see within the top 2 positions coming out of every game. And it just goes to show how many teams kind of fell with just about nothing in the earlier parts of this game, unable really to retain what is usually around that kind of 100-point limit that you get out of a standard ALGS scoring.
Yeah, we did have 4, 5, 50-50s taking place off the rip, especially because it was game number 1, right? So a lot of our teams that maybe don't quite have the experience, don't have the knowledge of where all of our teams dropped, will have to consider where they go for game number 2. Making adjustments on the fly is much more difficult now here in Apex Legends because of the change in format, because of the double map format. They only have 2 games to figure out what their game plan is going to be on World's Edge before we make the swap on over to Stormpoint.
Well, at this current point here, there's still plenty of time to put yourself in a place where you have at least that kind of gap that we talk about in terms of our point standing. But I would go on a limb and say I don't think we're going to see much of a change in terms of the pacing. Open nights have been super aggressive these last few weeks.
Yeah, let's see. We're already heading straight into game number 2 of the day. And we'll see if we get those 50-50s that were taking place. Nerf was one of the first teams that we saw getting into a fight in game number 1, and they were definitely happy with those kill points because that allowed them to basically get that tie for first place overall in terms of points. We also saw, of course, the fight for Glitch Gaming at Overlook. I believe Lazarus ended up getting into a 50-50 as well. But now joining on board with our winners from game number 1 is going to be Team Start a Fight. Looks like it's going to be a split coming out from them, taking No Name along with that north side of Lava Siphon. So this is, it looks dangerous with how far apart they are overall, but this is actually quite a safe looting path for them to be able to take. And Matt Pickett is more than familiar with this looting path.
Yeah, I was about to say, it comes down to what kind of level of knowledge you have available, especially regarding some of these teams. And this position isn't particularly dangerous because it's very rare that you see someone find a level of control within that area or look for that area in terms of a drop. So unless someone is just absolutely, I guess, angry at starting a fight, they should be fine for the rest of World's Edge here. Meanwhile, we check in with BAC. This was this fight that we talked about, the early 50-50 against Glitch Gaming that they lost out on. They're once again holding the circular kind of tiered cake building out here on the side of Overlook.
Things do look a little bit better for them, though. The armor situation, you got the purple along with the blues, a ramped up Rampage here. Ready to bust down doors or just through shields, and that's going to be War Monkey Games. Had no idea what hit him as Flinzer just finishes him off with that Prowler now. Kaiser, though, does answer back. Down to a 2v2, it seems. We'll see, though. Flinzer and Lottaways up top now. Flinzer going down. They got to be careful dealing with this clutch inside, though, with the Prowler once again.
Wow.
Just missing out on a few bullets there, but it looks like they're going to use that knock shield to try and make the push on in. They don't even need it anymore. Glitch Gaming, Lottaways coming in this time around with the flank to finish them off. So, a much easier go of things in this 50-50. They survive, and this time they don't have to get the res onto their Valkyrie player. They have a lot more space to work with now.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. It is something that it always impresses me when it comes to these early 50-50s, and it happens in a lot of open-ended kind of scrim-based tournaments. You go into game one, you obviously don't know what you're going to match up against, and you just have to kind of treat it with whatever you have, and obviously a lot of those teams with micro advantages come out on top. But once you go into these further games, you have that information and you get to see the evolution, the decision-making finally come out here, and Glitch Gaming literally improve within less than 20 to 30 minutes. So I always love taking a look at that, just as much as I love taking a look, of course, at our zone poll here. This time around, we're back in the north, but towards the west.
Yeah, this one now going over towards Countdown, but it's still going to leave a lot of teams guessing where this ring's going to pull. There's 3 major rings inside of Countdown proper that you have to really worry about, but hold on just a moment. It looks like Chuggun is in a fight. They do just back away. Yeah, speaking of that ring pull away, we do still have Lava Fissure in, along with just a bit of Skyhook. So it's going to be leaving a lot of teams maybe wondering if they should just go for that Zone 3 rotate when they know a little bit more about where this ring's going to pull. Chug Gunners for now, though, holding position inside of the medical building here. They do have the full 3-man team above them, and here comes the fly on in. Isolated is clinical, and he gets taken out. Chug Gun is now down to just Mike Lav here. They do trade at least for one. Squirrel's going down, but it doesn't matter. Certified BMers are able to just force the issue there. Another fight taking place. It's going to be Team Vizio holding high ground here as Blitzen is trying to trade away. Vizio's dad will go down. Kupski gets finished off, but Vizio should be able to walk away with this win. Oxygen knocked out here on the rotate, and Team Vizio will be able to get Blitzen back up, but it looks like a third party might be coming in.
Morton trying to lay down the shots necessary with this flat line to hopefully keep this squad at bay, but you've lost out on your Gibraltar. That is the optimal tool for getting those successful revives off. Ordinances like that will force a rotation. We have to hope for Vizio here, and looks like they're successful. Meanwhile, Intel in a fight of their own out towards Grandma House towards the west. You can see James Fearless already on his way forward. The dome has been utilized, but they find their way inside.
Yeah. Team Intel is not a team that you want to run into early on, but it looks like it was a very similar rotation. They take their Climatizer loot, they start rotating that northern path, and then they find a team, this time inside of the engineering shop. But it looks like it's going to be Optimal Ambition this time that are first in their sight lines. They do have the barrels set up for themselves, but they really have no escape. And Intel basically have all the time in the world to try and find their entry here. So it's going to come down to Boxa T being able to keep them at bay with these barrels. Looks like they're going to buy them just enough time, though, to continue to get more and more down, as it looks like they want to try and make their way on out, but that is locked from the inside. Team Excedrin, our first partner squad that went down in game number 1. Again, slow rotating out here on the south side. Enemy getting some great damage off with that bow check bow. This team just running through.
Another crack.
The cracks coming through now. Enemy able to get that blue evil shield off the bow check itself. They've already forced out the bubble. Here comes out that missile swarm along with the ordnance. The Arc Star not quite connecting, but they've got the defensive bombardment down. Hit for 34 as Kim Chi Lee now wants to try and cut them off. Enemy has been using this Horizon to great use, but it looks like that team might have created enough space for themselves, and Excedrin, despite using a lot into that, expending a lot into that, will not get anything for it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame there. You talk about the resources put down, but at least Excedrin can potentially turn around and play gatekeeper here, find their way a little bit more towards the north, where we know the rotations are going to have to come through as a necessity. Looks like this third party is rolling up on this building. This is the squad most hated, and I believe their presence has already forced the original squad that was up against Excedrin to leave.
And I believe they rotate through from trees, so you saw that entire time that they were keeping eyes on that south, making sure that no one else came in delayed from that thermal station side, despite dropping down at thermal station. It was just great awareness for them, knowing when to pull away, knowing that their utility got nothing for them, and they don't have anything for a third party. Typically, you know, if you're able to hold on to that defensive bombardment, that's kind of what you use to delay, to try and top yourself off. And so they did not have those tools available for them. Most hated, though, they're just looking for the fight. They don't care that there might have been another team in the area. They're just going to go ahead and force the issue up against Team Excedrin.
And this could be risky. Granted, they do now have the high ground kind of train line to work with, so they don't have to force the issue if they don't want. They themselves can just kind of hold train there for quite a while. Meanwhile, Intel, we tune in back with them. Last time we checked, they were holding out there all the way towards the west. It looks like they might have gotten themselves into a bit of a chase out here towards Fragment, trying to go for full thirst and finish off some potential kills, or just, as you can see, looking to craft up.
Yeah, we all know how important gas breaks are, as Team Vizio still over at Landslide currently looking to play gatekeeper. They do have that round 3 information for us, believe, able to pick up a beacon. So they have a better idea of where this one's going to go. It looks like they could just utilize this Valkyrie rotate. A lot of loot here, especially from the oxygen side. So they can utilize this to try and get those red evos for themselves. Blitzen's already at 488, and so that's going to be beautiful for them. There is the beacon scan for them, so they'll know where this next ring is going to be pulling. Again, the big question mark, whenever it goes down to over to countdown with a little bit of lava fissure in. Oh boy, most hated were able to find the fight here and be able to pick up that win. And I believe this was the squad that Excedrin were trying to take on beforehand, before Most Hated ended up showing up. So ultimately that team goes down. Third party attempt though, but that is straight into the waiting maws of Most Hated, who took almost no damage in that last fight.
Now they have a great angle there. It's a good crack found by the Arc Star up, but Hayden's got the angles here. They got to be careful, though. You're potentially losing out on the Gibraltar. Then again, though, cracks found in return from the Ordinances. It's a large spread in response here, though, from DSZ, or DSO. Ooh, very nice first drop found with the flatline.
Yeah, and it looks like all of the fight should be going towards the way of Most Hated here. This is going to be +6 for them early on. So 2 of our open night teams now coming up pretty clutch so far. I believe Chug Gunners were able to take another team fight win on that north-hand side. Here's Team Excedrin, though. Happy to see that fight for Most Hated, because that means they can isolate a fight for now, but they've got to do this quickly because Most Hated can turn on them. Wow. And it looks like it will be safe. Team Excedrin knocking out Spectre Esports, who have still, well, actually, I believe, got their first point on the board, albeit only from placements.
And reminder, I mean, we look out, like, just last week, Spectre was sitting in 3rd place coming out of our last open night, and now they are struggling here. Meanwhile, in Skyhook, certified BMers still taking a bit of damage. We got quite the pull here for this zone. It's a bit of a mix. It largely entitles what is that kind of western end of Countdown, but leaves a lot of open space towards that Trials area, and most notably, these buildings up here towards the north, where you can get a large majority of these teams, like you said earlier, just kind of holding out, biding their time till they get the information that provides the rotation.
Excuse me, I misspoke. It was certified BMers, not Chug Gunners. That was the team that they ended up flying in on and taking out. So that's going to be 2 team fight wins for certified BMers. It looks like a few fights taking place across the map, but it's going to be Team Intel versus Vizio. And Vizio are probably not happy that they were holding out here. Impulse is here, though, but it doesn't look like he actually got the message, because he's actually pulling up that Octane. So pretty sure we're seeing some AFK ranked picks coming out from Team Intel right now.
Yeah, you know what? The speed, the mobility that's provided, the potential launch pad. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm always a fan of the potential off-meta, the slight picks that do exist here. But we know for a fact that Intel are skilled enough in their own positions that may help them out. Looks like, of course, though, Excedrin finally rolling up here from staging, providing the damage from the other side to prevent Vizio from coming back into this one. That'll be it for Stung. That leaves just one here that I believe Intel will clean up.
Yeah, that's going to be unfortunate for Vizio, finding themselves between a rock and a charge rifle. Definitely not one position I envy at all whatsoever. Blitz goes down. That's going to be Vizio out. We're down to 12 squads already here. Round 2 just about to finish off closing. Like we noted, with that ring pulling up towards that northwest side of Countdown, still leaves in a little bit of the northern end of Lava Fissure. And I imagine that a little bit of that nook on the train tracks to the north of Lava Fissure is still in as well. For Team Excedrin, though, it looks like they're trying to cut off the rotation and make their way into Lava Fissure themselves, as now they're rotating around towards the western side. A lot of options here still left for them, as they do have cruising on that Valkyrie, so they are not feeling trying to rotate through and clear out all the angles of Lava Fissure. They do have that option afforded to them. Do they want to stick around to take a fight up against Team Intel there? You can see the trade away from damage. An enemy knows that maybe you don't want to take this fight so early on in the game.
No, we know there's a lot of dominance held by that kind of southern position of Countdown, especially when the circle pulls towards it. So I like the respect that Excedrin are paying. They go for the long side. They go all the way out here towards West 4 Fissure and don't try to contest anything that could be taking an alternative way. Out of here, though, towards that Nook you were just bringing up, we tuned back in with Most Hated. They're the ones that are holding this one out here.
Ooh.
Teams across from them in the building, though, pumping damage out.
Yeah, you can see that they're wary of the Valkyrie rotate teams coming in. Mars keeping an eye on the skies for now, but they have at least gone this position here. Razor, though, inside of one of the Countdown buildings. Nice push out. Vize gets cleaned up with almost no fight there. Box of D putting in the work with a second knock, and now Lazarus just down to 1. Does seem like we have a few more fights taking place, though, as Intel running up against Excedrin right now. Cruising goes down. We'll see if Team Intel are going to be the bane of Excedrin once again, leaving them with a big headache.
For now, though, Razor, they're able to take what they claim here, complete control of this high ground of Countdown. You still have to be a bit wary of who might come through from behind, but it's a good sight to see that they laid that one out fairly early on. Meanwhile, back towards Fissure, this is where we saw Excedrin trying to kind of play into. Nerf are already holding the northern end of Fissure that you brought up earlier, and this is going to prevent them from getting potentially the kind of full-fledged entrance that they wanted here.
Yeah, 4 teams start a fight, though, inside of Skyhook. They've got to be careful. There was just one player actually. Trap Lord ends up going down. So teams start a fight. Our winners from game number 1 should be able to stabilize. Rakinishu was a little bit low. They have been able to secure this position with those barrels. Now it's all about the waiting game for them. Round number 3 about to start closing in. And just in under a minute, they'll find out where this ring ends up pulling. Team Intel, though, trying to chase after Excedrin. Now they have to deal with Most Hated, holding that position on the train tracks just to their north. They've got that team to their east as well, keeping them from peeking, unfortunately, here. But Team Intel can just walk this one in for the time being. It's Nerf continuing to apply the pressure onto them. There is a 75 HP disadvantage in this fight for Team Nerf, but they do have the advantage of just being able to play Gatekeeper from this position.
Yeah, I mean, the angles are great, and you put damage down, you force them into the fight that's ahead of them towards Fissure, and then you can kind of come through, potentially play on what might be that third party. Granted, Nerf, I like this. They have to be careful. This is a poor position to be in, especially with the ring pulling all the way even further out there towards the north. They have to be careful how much time they kind of spend into this one. Love that, though, from Force to find what is the nice break on the low ground, but it does push them back for now.
This ring does end up pulling away from Countdown, and this was the big question we were talking about when we saw that first and second ring reveal. While there are a lot of rings in Countdown, the surrounding area also has a lot of sway, and so it will be that northern pull that Most Hated were able to rotate into. They'll have that Nook to play off of. A little bit of Sniper Hill, I believe, might be in on this one as well. So the Crow position is another one that a lot of teams try to find and try to play out of here. So for right now, it's Team Nerf who need to find the rotate out. Luckily for them, the game state leaves them a bit more room to work with, a little bit more breathing room, but you can see there is already a team over by the Raven there holding down that position.
11 squads left, though. It's not the most pressurized situation going into the fourth zone here. Meanwhile, Intel has found their way towards this kind of nook, held out by Most Hated. Impulse will take damage down back. I love the spray here. Flatline found, docked on to Stola. Fearless to the sky is going to reapproach this one to add that singularity. Will pull Mooney back and find that first knock there. Gonna have to bide their time as Fearless takes the burn of that Thermite. Gonna go for the shield battery of all things, right behind Mooney's shield. He does stick this one, slides through the back end, flatline, and the elimination onto Most Hated.
Beautiful play, but their third party is coming out from Team Excedrin now, getting their revenge onto them very shortly. I don't think they got the re-knock, though, or maybe they pulled off that res. We'll find out in just a moment. Here comes the defensive bombardment out into the clearing, keeping them contained for now, but it looks like Team Intel might have been able to fully back away as they try to chase after them, but Team Excedrin, unfortunately, do not get anything for it. They need to start rolling in with this. They need to get Cruisin' topped off, and that's going to be beautiful. A red Evo shield going into the hands of Cruisin' here, but they still have to deal with Team Intel ahead of them. Razor, though, playing on the bottom side of that Raven. They've got the barrel set up, and now they have kind of turned it onto this squad. They do have the Nox Gas grenade ready, and that's beautiful timing because it persists basically throughout all of that ring closing in. It's the third party, GG, actually going down. That's going to be Flinzar getting finished off by Hollow, and throughout all of this, Razor able to slowly pick them apart. It's Nerf involved in that fight as Glitch Gaming gets knocked out, but they still have to rotate it in. It looks like Razor, though, going to give them some space to play off of. It's just a matter of time. You do have turns with that Nox Gas grenade covering the right-hand side. Double connect there as Messiah and Force instantly turn on to that one. Hypnotics will fall as it looks like Team Nerf just now need to survive the turn coming out from Team Razor. But that beautiful, beautiful defensive bombardment will keep them at bay. Team Nerf now able to stabilize, turn onto this fight, but no, they end up losing out on turns. Team Intel was knocked out throughout all of this as well. Now Team Nerf getting on the back ropes here as Rakanishu does end up going down, so Team Start a Fight getting involved in this one as Matt Pickett will fall, and Team Nerf somehow survive throughout all of this. But you can see that Sniper Hill position is still on in, and Tyson are playing off of it.
I love this right up against the angle, the side here. They have a fantastic little bit of head peeks that will force this rotation, I believe, onto Razor, who is just in that area. Meanwhile, for Tyson, they themselves, they still don't have to drop just yet. They have even a little bit of that high ground to work with. Meanwhile, Z Davis there. That'll be it for G7 Dank, Lazarus, Shadow Illusions as well, to bring us down to our final 5.
Yeah, this is why it is so important to be able to play flexible positions. Tyson, one of the masters of being able to do that, even though they are extremely good about being able to call the late game. They know that the mid game is where a lot of the pacing is set at this point. Z Davis getting some great damage off with that R301 from that high ground. Again, they're going to be safe up here on top of Sniper Hill into the next ring as well. That interception pylon is in a beautiful position where no one can really grief it with regular fires. So they should be extremely safe. Joey Blackout is going to have basically one of the easiest jobs as a Gibraltar in this game right now because their bubble isn't what they need to stay safe up here.
And I love this. They just get to sit here, expend the damage, force the resources towards all these squads below them so that they get their kind of pickings when it comes to the forced drop out there from trials. They get to come through, clean up on a 3-minute you know is already weekend. But for moments like these, all they have to do is lay it down, find those beams.
Yeah. That squad does survive for the time being. Their bubble is down, but oh no, Z Davis accidentally goes for the slide down. That's going to be on top of Team Nerf, who ended up just taking out Razor here. Z Davis has fallen. It's a 1-for-1 exchange. Team Nerf, though, trying to go for the armor swap. Messiah will fall, and now it's all up to turns in 2v1. He is knocked out. It's the final 3 squads remaining. The gold bag res just isn't enough. They don't have enough time yet as the third party comes in. Excedrin coming in for the cleanup now, and you can see on the other side, it's the final squad just waiting for them. But that's a beautiful recovery now for Excedrin here, who, after falling early in game number 1, find themselves in the top 2. They've got all the loot to play off of. You can see that Sawz is trying to set up an angle onto Excedrin here, but they should be relatively safe. Enemy backs away to hit that bat. He still has 2 left in the back pocket here. They need the rest of the squad to start pushing out, but you can see Miles is playing this one extremely cautiously. No, he's disconnected, unfortunately. So it's going to be a 3v2 for Excedrin. They don't know that quite yet, but you can see Sawz trying his best, despite the circumstances, to keep them at bay, buy any amount of time to try and get Miles back on in, but it's just a matter of time as now Excedrin are able to swing on out. That missile swarm
Miles is in.
just a little
Miles
bit
is
short
in.
for Team Excedrin, and Miles is back, so Sauce does it. He buys enough time for Miles to get back on in, and they do buy a little bit more space, but does it matter with Cruz and Beeman like that? The defensive bombardment has gone down. The gravity lift used. Kimchi is by himself in that bubble, but he has forced them back now as the Nox Gas grenade comes in. The first knock for Kimchi Lee. Lane will fall, and now it's a 3v2. Team Excedrin bounce back in game number 2 for the win.
Oh, certified Bammers, they tried to hold on there to the very last moment. Yes, the circumstances were built against them, but hey, I gotta give them credit where it's due. They were able to last long and well into what was their control of the Skyhook area, so I can understand at least the second place position there. But Excedrin, a tried and true run going into game 2, tested throughout the entirety here. We talked about the struggle of the rotation, especially coming all the way down from the south, but they handled it with such ease.
Yeah, gotta give a lot of credit to Saws there once again. He played towards the circumstances, and one of the things, especially when you're playing out as a duo, is to never play like you're a duo. You play like you're a 3-man, and he was taking up that space. You can see how tentative Excedrin were in taking that fight. They took their time, bought a lot of it. A lot of fighting, though, did take place here in the early game. And so this is Glitch Gaming, I believe, that had, I want to say, around a top 5, top 6 finish there in that last game. So another bounce back game for them as well. But it's these 50-50s that are really coming into them. You can see here, certified BMers, they started their dominance early on, taking the fight to Chug Gunners here early on in Skyhook.
Yeah, this is the 50-50 that we saw in the midst of that round 1 there that enabled them, and they went on to do that again across the board there into Skyhook. For a lot of our partner teams, though, it was down here kind of out towards Landslide Countdown, this back end, and what then evolved into the rotation towards the west of Fissure, where we saw a lot of our squads fall.
Yeah, naturally, of course, with a very hard northern pull, the action is going to aggregate basically towards that south side, and this is where we saw it. Excedrin taking the fights here over at Staging. We had the fights, of course, taking place over at Thermal Station. Multiple fights coming the way of Most Hated, who had a decent showing here in game number 2 as well.
Well, for a lot of these squads, I gotta say, they had phenomenal performance once again, each with their own kind of unique situation where we got to see them shine. But it was Excedrin who came out against it all in the end.
Yeah, let's go ahead and send it over to Yesa to break down game number 2 as we get our final game on World's Edge ready and prepared to go. So Yesa, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Jamerson. Excedrin, of course, coming off of a big victory in Excedrin Week just a week ago, starting the day off strong here as well with a win in game number 2. They've been the best team so far this season in Series E. Enemy has been a big part of that, and Excedrin grab a victory here. One more game on World's Edge. We'll have to see if maybe Excedrin can make it 2 in a row, but let's just take a look at our champion squad here from our second game of the day. And that is a hell of a game from the team. Everybody right around 2,000 damage or more. Kimchi just a little bit below, but Enemy up there at just shy of 2,600. That's a hell of a game from the team. Kimchi leads the way in kills and assists with 6 and 5 respectively, and everybody contributing very well. So that's a huge showing for the squad. 13 kills means 21 points for the team, and that's a good boon for Excedrin there on our leaderboard. We'll have to see if maybe they've jumped all the way up into first place or really how close they are in that race. But let's take a look at our Mobile One high performance moment here. A play from just a little earlier on that helped set up Excedrin for the win. We're on board here with Nerf, but things go wrong early on, and it's Tyson as well as Excedrin that get rolling in here as Tyson looking for the res there. Joey wanted to get the pickup onto Z Davis, but Excedrin come in for the third party. They're able to quickly clean up Tyson within just a few seconds of arriving into the fight, and they get some very key armor swaps too that set themselves up for the final fight there to grab the victory. So just really well timed. Nothing super complicated there. Excedrin just understanding, hey, if we play patient here, they'll get some downs, there'll be some damage done. We just wait for the right opportunity to push in. They do exactly that, take out Tyson, and it helps set them up for the win. So well played from Excedrin and everybody else in that game. We'll have to see if anybody can chase down our best team in Series E right now in our next game. We're going to a quick break right now. When we come back, though, we'll keep it rolling with more Series E here in just a few.
Welcome back to Series E Week 3 Open Night. After game number 2, it looks like Excedrin were able to get a proper lay of the land and were able to navigate the troubling waters throughout their own World's Edge to come up with a huge victory. Let's check in with the Mobile One leaderboard to see where they stand now. They had 3 points heading into that game, and oh my goodness, I believe they were at like 3 points heading into game number 2. So a 25-point game for them is going to be absolutely massive.
Yeah, a fantastic showing that finally puts them potentially within a competitive spot here, but Nerf still retains their position all the way up at the very top now in number 1. We do see a bit of falling there from start of fight, but some new faces joining us as well as certified BMers found their success in that last game.
Yeah, it seems like Start of Fight were only able to pick up 3 points in that last game. They had 18 and were tied for first place with Nerf. So not quite what they wanted. We did have them going down on that south side of ring number 5, I want to say, in that weird fight with Tyson when the fights came their way. Anyhow, for Team Nerf, though, it's about continuing to put on the points, that they're doing an exceptional job of it, but they have to keep teams like Tyson and Intel at bay. Start a Fight, of course, getting that first win in game number 1 will allow them to remain competitive. We still have 4 games left to go, but one last game here on World's Edge. And it seems like a lot of teams were able to kind of navigate that early 50-50 area that we had in game number 1. We didn't have as many early fights there in game number 2.
No. And if we talk a lot about comfort, World's Edge is obviously the map that if you hold a lot of success in terms of just general standing when it comes to Apex, it's your best bet for racking up the points that will at least give you stability once we start to talk about Stormpoint. And even with the gosh, what is it, 4-6 months of competitive play that a lot of these players have seen, it is still not a fixed product. No one plays it exactly the same way just yet. It's chaos. And in our open nights especially, that allows for a whole lot to develop here, and it gives a lot of opportunity for some of those squads that aren't as consistent.
Yeah, what I do like about when it comes to Stormpoint is that the map changes weren't too massive. Now, the armories, of course, they are absolutely OP, but in terms of changes to the map, just adding that downed beast didn't really change the dynamic or the geography of where teams end up landing. Just adding another POI essentially makes it a little bit easier. But we are not on Stormpoint quite yet. We are heading back into World's Edge one final time for the evening here for Series E. Let's join on board with our winners from game number 2. It was Team Excedrin with a huge bounce back game in game number 2.
Excedrin here. Good success for them thus far, but we need to see them kind of retain and find consistency. And I give credit towards Excedrin for being one of the most consistent teams out of Season 4. But for now, we take a look at this 50-50 all the way down towards the south. Most hated here. Again, successful on the start. DZO falling here.
Okay, so this is a changeup that actually we see out of Excedrin. So they end up dropping down towards launch site, but Excedrin has been a team that we know end up playing thermal, but they don't want to take the 50-50 up against most hated. We did see that come back to bite Team Excedrin in game number 3 last week, where they ended up losing the third 50-50 after taking 2 in a row. But now the ring is pulling towards thermal station. And so I don't know if most hated are going to be able to find the fights that they did like they did in game number 2, now that they don't have that pressure of having to rotate. And now this is a different kind of pressure. You have to be able to call this ring and get the beautiful, like get that beautiful position in the mid game for themselves.
Yeah, this one has that, opportunity to pull down there towards that no-name village that you can already see pinged out here, which can be such a tough end to play, especially depending on how it tends to pull, whether it be directly into those buildings or kind of out towards the outskirts, right, where you have some of those exposures that give a insane advantage depending on when you come into them. Granted, that's going to be something much later on. A lot of these teams are still finding their success on their drops here. Glitch Gaming once again going up against what I believe is that BAC team, and this time around they have found a quick rotation. They spot out Flinzer alone.
Yeah, Glitch Gaming, doing what you should be doing when you take these 50-50s at Overlook. You make sure you keep that team contained. Looks like that team has learned, BAC has learned from that last game that you do not want to allow the team to get that top-down fight on you inside of the circle building, but it's a different top-down fight that's coming towards them now as Glitch Gaming trying to make their way on up. You don't have to climb up a lot of ways. You are on the Valkyrie. You've got a nice passive that allows you to take the roof, and it looks like he just realized that now. Gain the first melee onto the store. Are they ready for this push out? Doesn't seem like the barrels are quite here yet for BAC either, but unfortunately for Glitch Gaming, they don't quite have the utility. There's the first knock. The barrel is there, but he does at least get the grief on the door now. Changing up his angle. He's going to have this window peek through, but it's the fight on the low ground. Sushi already picking up 2, and now BAC ready for another quick exit here in game number 3.
Only one member left standing here, and they're not even going to waste. They don't even have the bullets to spare. They'll have to punch that one out, but they still find the success for BAC. I mean, the only thing that you have credit to work with now is that you luckily fell in 18th after Spectre fell in 19th.
Yeah, but both of those teams are not able to get points on the board. Spectre were able to get at least one, I believe. Didn't quite keep an eye out for them on the leaderboard when we checked in with it. Here's Team Vizio making their rotate from that landslide area. It's going to be double blues for Blitz and Sung, and unfortunately they swapped off to a composition here in game number 3 where they want to fight, but instead they have to play center zone. Luckily for them, though, they do have that high ground position inside of Thermal, that centralized position to try maybe get a last hit kill steal on teams that rotate through.
Ooh. Vizio here, I mean, I like this position. It's something that I'll give credit in terms of the early game. It definitely works. You have the opportunity to lay down the damage. You got, say, that Gibraltar. You pin this one out. Set yourself up for a secured and confident potential rotation when you get to the late game. But those who find that success, it's going to be tough. Meanwhile, Intel, very close there. Could have ran in and found themselves potentially picked off by what was a little bit of that ratting position. Instead, they actually get a bit more of the drop on. Now going to be rotating back out here towards the dome where they know this is a one-up situation. One-off.
Yeah, they got one isolated here, but it looks like it's just Impulse taking the 1v1, and it wasn't much of a 1v1, as a lot of ways just crumbles there. Fearless finishing off Flinzer, and now there's only one remaining for Glitch Gaming. But Team Intel, they were wary this entire time. You saw Fearless as he was approaching. He was ready for this. We have to note that there was a compositional change as Impulse is no longer on that Octane, but most notably, Fearless has now picked up that Horizon. It was Impulsive Dream that I believe that was playing it last week. This time around, it's going to be James Fearless, and Impulse now swapping over to that Valkyrie.
Well, it's something that I wouldn't say was... I mean, obviously, we go into competition. It's a necessity to have all 3 members find their use there. And the Octane leaves a lot more to be asked. But Intel has shown us that they continue to stay competitive even when tested here. Granted, they've got a long ways to go as most of our squads, Tyson included, have already begun to set themselves up here in this region. They're still trying to carry themselves forward. Wonder where they're going to place their bets on this poll. You can see them all the way out here towards this far western side. Let's see if they're going to keep going deeper.
Yeah, it looks like they're pinging for the ledge. They're going to try and play on the outskirts and play off the what should be an off the map position, which should make you slide down. As teams have already been holed up, you can see that the Dorito building has already been taking place. Nerf is now getting the similar timing on the rotate here, but you might be able to play off of the cafeteria there. They do scan multiple teams in the area now. They do have that northern ledge to play off of behind the rocks. Looks like it'll be just a little bit short. It's going to be a quick rotate now in. think they actually want to try and fight for a building here as Tyson, you commit now down to the ledge. There's already a team here, or at least one player, and this is out of bounds now. You have to get back up. 1 second remaining. Oh my gosh, Joey, blackout, leaving me just absolutely clenched here, but Tyson are going to get cleaned up. It's only Oxy Aries remaining, most hated. We're able to pick them apart.
And surprisingly, that lack of information is what punishes them in that moment. Might have not even been a lack of information, but just not the usualness of playing around that ledge, right? I mean, you have so much less time to work with there, and that's what was absolutely crucial in that moment for Tyson. And now at this point, obviously, they've got the one last standing rat, but we know how long that typically lasts for.
Yeah, it's great to know that that position is now out of bounds. Or I don't know if it was just maybe that area that he was walking in, but I thought that spot should have been illegal a long time ago. So great to see that at least change coming in. Makes this position much less tenable. Now, fewer teams can actually hold down in these buildings. We already have a lot of buildings here to play off of, along with that southern edge. You can play off the platform off to the east as well. So there's still plenty of positions to play here. You can see easily 8, maybe 9 teams surviving amongst these buildings.
Well, I mean, it's the changes that behold themselves here, apparently on one of these patches at this current point, though. Like you said, there's still plenty of opportunities for these squads. It just gets a little bit more dicey. For most hated, they've retained this building for quite a while. Meanwhile, it looks like Vizio out there towards the very upper end of what is that usual tower have found their kind of first drop there on to protect full oxygen.
We'll see if they can capitalize off of it.
They're moving.
They're on the load ground. They are moving with this one. But Sung, with that charge rifle, has been able to put in work. He's at a red Evo shield. I mean, I believe they were coming in with... I believe he had a white Evo shield at the beginning of all of this. Yeah, he was the one that was sitting on whites, and they had the double blues. So he has definitely been able to put in work here, swapping off now. Blitz is still playing on top of that sniper post. And so... Gonna have to commit though to a Valkyrie again, skyward dive just to get back on up, but it looks like they're relatively safe here playing off the jungle gym.
Ooh, tough. There's still 15 squads up, and you can find damage like that, and that'll hopefully provide a fruitful Evo in a little while. But it does bring lots of questions regarding where Vizio might find themselves or what they might have to defend here. I gotta say, it's a big risk to be kind of throwing out that Bloodhound there, right? I mean, that is one of the least defensible legends that you could potentially work with. And I mean, all it takes is one standard deploy, one squad rolling up from below, and suddenly Vizio in a tough place.
I mean, this was definitely a Vizio squad that were feeling the pressure and wanted to get a bit more kill points here in game number 3, especially their last opportunity on World's Edge to try to have a big game. But they're making the best of it so far. The plus 12 is all that really matters in the end, as it looks like Team Start a Fight are actually taking this one up against Team Excedrin right now. It's a 1-for-1 exchange, but Kimchi Lee has been brought back into this one. Both Cruisin and Kimchi Lee need to hit bats. You can see this entire time, though. Enemy trying to lay down the pressure here, using that grab lift, finds a nice angle. Here comes Intel, though, as they find a fight of their own right now. The gravity lift along with that singularity being tossed down despite that crack. Impulse is going to back away as James Fearless isn't feeling comfortable in this fight. Great call coming out from them. They're just going to rotate through and maybe come in from the south-hand side to now work their way into Thermal Station.
Yeah, and this was what I was talking about when we were taking a look at Vizio. It's just the fact that you've got so many squads that still have yet to find their way kind of into these zones yet, and it leaves a lot of questions regarding what really is safe as it stands. For Intel, I like the fact that they actually recognize that they've still got a few squads kind of lagging towards the north there, and they opt to go for something a little bit safer. Granted, zone closed, they'll come up here. This is kind of their last opportunity, so you know for a fact that it's confidently going to be the southern play for them for the extended future, where they're probably going to have to do-si-do with individuals like Excedrin, potentially out by houses like this, where we know a lot of squads love to play around, hold, and utilize even things like that beacon.
Yeah, that beacon is going to be crucial, but 50 seconds is a long time when you have Team Intel on your tails. I don't think Team Excedrin are actually quite aware that they have to worry about that. No one's really keeping an eye on that choke point right now, and that could be extremely dangerous as Team Intel have made their way here onto the high ground. And luckily for Team Excedrin, Team Intel have a different team in their sights right now. James Fearless now climbing up. He does hear one right above him, but he's going to go ahead and challenge for this Valkyrie. Impulsive Dream, though, taking a lot of damage. Arcstar right below Fearless now, but he's still holding the angle, trying to buy time for Impulse to heal up, and he actually missing out on some crucial seconds, counting and pulling off of that med kit to start that Phoenix kit. Still needs a few more seconds as Muni goes down, but Fearless, though, is going to keep chasing after this Caustic. Doesn't get the knock quite yet, and he will fall. Impulsive Dream, the only one alive now. It was Lazarus on the other side of this fight, up as a full 3, and Team Intel are knocked out. Start a fight. End up cleaning that one up. GS Bird, to note, has swapped off to that Bloodhound for this game as well. So all the other teams feeling that pressure, looking to try and have a huge game number 3 here. Things are working out for Lazarus so far.
Jeez, I gotta say, I mean, that is tough. Back against the wall there, Intel. I mean, they tried to pull it out, but the setup provided, especially some of the caustic damage that was being laid down there, was just too difficult to work with. Speaking of caustic, a Nox gas grenade right on this ridge. This is a lovely spot that we know teams love to hold here. Razor, they don't quite find the knock, but they do retain now a nice position that's domed down.
Yeah. They do have that team actually going for that Skyward Dive, and this is so bad. The nerfs! There it is! The knock onto Serial Hero. Did they make it across, though? As it looks like it wasn't the Valkyrie that went down. It was just one of the thirds on the edges there as Turns gets this knife up top, and what is happening? Reparations! Oh my goodness, it was just a big game of Duck Hunt for all of our teams in the lobby there. A number of teams, and Team Nerf getting involved in that one, picking up a kill point there. We are now down to 12 squads remaining. Chug Gunners, though, trying to contest for this spot. Grandma's house on the north side of Thermal Station, as Mike Lav will just go ahead and back away. Don't really need to fight over this position, because really all they need to do is make their way into the ring, and it looks like that's what they're prioritizing.
I mean, as long as they don't take to the skies, apparently, they should be fine here. Chug Gun is on a bit more of the slow rotation, potentially looking to play around some of the houses that do provide directly towards the south. Granted, this is a large gap to cover there, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do potentially either see that redeploy out there. So what is that exposure? Granted, I believe they are seeing potential enemies that they might have to contest with, so...
No, they're pinging for that out-of-bounds position, and I don't know if they're aware either. We're aware of it, but they are pinging for the out-of-bounds position. They're gonna.
This one out of bounds?
It's gonna be a really bad surprise for them. They're going for that exact same one that we saw earlier on being taken. And they're going to go for it. We'll get confirmation, though, here, whether or not this is out of bounds for sure, but this is going to be a rude awakening for them. And, oh, boy, you got to turn around now, Clinical. The missile swarm coming in as well. And, oh, no, the humanity. Chug Gun is trying their best to survive. Clinical does make it up eventually there. Mike Lab almost goes down to it. But this is why I am so glad we have scrims coming back in. I'm so glad that we've got these positions fixed, because you need to know that that position is no longer playable. Chug Gun has learned it the hard way.
Hey, yeah, I was about to say, I mean, at this point there, that is no longer any kind of rotation that provides towards any of these buildings, and as a result, it's basically a confirmed death if you don't have that information in store. Meanwhile, some of the houses out here towards the north still well and available across the fissure itself on this cliff. Razor being one of these squads, they've got a happy home here, but it's contested from above. They're gonna have to take this one toe-to-toe before they make any moves.
Yeah, Razor, though, they do have some presence on the outside, so they do have a possibility of trying to go for that top-down fight, as you do have Hollow up there on that window position, actually forcing them back. So Hollow doing a great job on that Valkyrie, buying space for them now, trying to take the fight. They got the first knock. Mimicry will go down. It's a 3v2 here for Razor. Only that PK. Box of T does eat a big amount of damage, but he's got the trade away going in. It's still a 3v2 ultimately for them. And that's going to be Shadow Illusions getting cleaned up. No fuss, no muss here for Team Razor.
Well, at least for Razor, this means they have the confidence to make their way outside this building, especially within the next 50. However, they do so. But granted, there's still a lot of squads that put themselves in that area, and covering the gap here is going to be so difficult, even with the utilization potentially of that redeploy. Meanwhile, all the way out here towards our no-name, this is no longer going to be within play.
Yeah, the ring is pulling away now down towards that south platform along with the southern jungle gym off of Thermal Station. For Oxygen, though, it's all about being able to survive for the time being, creeping their way on up towards that Dorito building. They still have to make it across. 23 seconds left to go, and this is not a position that you skyward dive out of. We'll see if they maybe go for it, but that is basically a death sentence at this stage of the game, especially with so many charge rifles in play. So they're going to try and walk this one in. They've got the pings down to try and rotate towards the jungle gyms throughout all of this. Nice little top off in terms of ammo there. And they do know that, yeah, this is definitely a position that you have to walk out of.
I mean, they're already outside of this building here. You can see them pinging what will be that next rotation, and right up against this building. Okay, this has got you another extra second, but they're going to have to shimmy right up alongside what is usually this platform that we see so many squads now forced to make their moves to. Most hated. I like their choice here. You can play out on top of the platform, full control here, but still retain the potential to cover the background of this village and then play into the low ground there. You can see them box D. First knock there, though.
Yeah, Razor coming in for a beautiful third party. It looks like Most Hated had all of their attention basically funneled onto the team that was inside the platform. They are playing underneath right now, and Razor have to be aware that there is a team there. Blake might have dropped down into it, or excuse me, Box the T himself. He does get back up, bad up just in time. We got 3 teams playing off this platform. Ring even pulls away, going north towards that jungle gym area that we saw Vizio being able to play off of earlier. Excedrin playing off the southeast. They didn't make it that far out of that building. It's going to be Lazarus about to come in with another +3. They knocked out Team Intel. They're about to knock out Team Excedrin. Lazarus coming up huge now so far here in game number 3 as Team Nerf now fighting for their lives. The jungle gym being contested here. It might be Vizio on the other side of this one, but Nerf, they've got no shield to their name. Force will fall, and it is Vizio. Sung once again. A huge hero for Team Vizio coming up with 2 knocks. He'll be able to finish them off in just a moment, but it's Oxygen coming in here to try and finish off Team Razor, but they've lost out on Kupski to this Nox gas. We'll see if they can still fight into this one. They try and prioritize the res. It's Razor getting knocked out. Oxygen have full control over this platform now.
Now it's down to just Lazarus, Oxygen, and Vizio. Only 1 left standing partnered squad here, 2 just naturally coming out from our open night. And Lazarus, after cleaning up house there on Excedrin, now are making their way in towards this opposing jungle gym, trying to pull this position. I mean, it's going to be great for the end game here. Once this zone closes in, they make a move like this now.
It's 2 Bloodhound teams facing off against each other. It's going to allow that third party to come in from Oxygen as the full fight has been committed on by either side. There is the bubble out. Bird now charges forward. Borden, we'll see if he's got the spray down. They do back away, and that's the first knock. Blitzen charging into that bubble by himself. Excellent kiting coming out from the Lazarus side now. They got to make sure they don't lose anyone, but they end up losing out. There we go. Vizio backing away. It's still Lazarus trying to retain this position. Maybe they can get the res here as Vizio needs to back off. He does have the supply bins to play off of, and they do end up knocking out Vizio. But here comes Oxygen with that third party. They've got the man advantage. Kupski took a lot of damage. Nox gas grenade is going to be an unsore welcome here as Oxygen gets an easy cleanup for the win here in game number 3.
And while we didn't see Oxygen in their ability to pull off the platform earlier on, that's where the real fight took place for them, kind of coming into this one there. Lazarus, Vizio, it was close. They're forced to take that fight. You need to find a way into that zone when you're both out there towards the north. I mean, they're going to touch tail at some point there. But for Oxygen, they themselves also had strife all the way through, even as anticlimactic as that finish was.
Yeah, despite all the great plays, I mean, one of the biggest plays is, of course, that huge shadow nerf coming into that position. I mean, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't reading the patch notes, but knowing now that that out-of-bounds position is just completely gone is an absolute game changer when it comes to thermal station rings, particularly, of course, the ones that pull down to the southwest side. Team Intel kind of changing up their game plan here in game number 3 in terms of their rotations and actually sweeping down to Overlook instead of going towards that survey camp area. I'm wondering if it was just maybe some excellent scouting when they were dropping into World's Edge. Maybe they saw no trails going towards that survey camp side and made a call on the fly to actually rotate down here to Overlook instead.
well, whatever it was successful in continuing to net them points that keep them competitive, but we'll have to see how, of course, they fare on that leaderboard, as they were ones to fall here at the hands fairly early on out there towards the southern edge, kind of against teams like Excedrin and Toe when they kind of came in late.
Yeah, I believe it was Lazarus that were able to get the cleanup, but Excedrin might have been able to get a snipe away. Now here is, you would have to imagine, probably one of the biggest buffs that came to the charge rifle. The simple fact that there was a nerf to Valkyrie, and it's so much easier to shoot teams down out of the sky. So charge rifle, definitely the sniper that you want to have around. I mean, we got to see Sung doing some great work with it. He went from a white Evo shield to a red Evo shield with that charge rifle, playing off that position in the center of thermal station. So the charge rifle medal is basically in full tow.
Yeah, still well and strong there. Once again, though, congratulations, of course, towards Oxygen. I know our replays didn't cover it there, but it got absolutely hectic towards the end, especially down towards the south, where all these squads had made their bets on our no-name Southern Vision, and then were forced to compete for that platform. And Oxygen, of course, were the team that came out on top, and that allowed them to find their victory.
And that means we have hit halftime. Let's go ahead and send it over to Yeso one last time in the first half to go ahead and break down game number 3. Yeso, go ahead and take it away.
The open squads showing up in the first half of tonight. We kicked it off with Start a Fight, and we closed the first half with a win there from Oxygen as the teams are looking good. Of course, Excedrin in the middle of that World's Edge sandwich there, and they were in second place going into that last game. We'll have to see how things shake up on the leaderboard because, of course, Nerf was sitting at the top despite no wins on their record so far tonight. Excuse me. That cola getting to me a little bit. Nerf fragging out really well, honestly, so far tonight, despite not grabbing any wins so far, really putting up solid points through the first half, and we'll have to see if they can keep that rolling as we head over to Storm Point. But let's check out our champion squad here, take a look at what Oxygen was able to get done in that last game, and a total of 10 kills for the team is looking real nice, and Vize's dad looking real good with that 2,000 damage as well, leading in kills and assists. So really taking the reins here for the squad, and Protectful and Kubsky supporting right in step, and the squad takes a nice win there. So well played from Oxygen. And now the competition gets really interesting as we head over to Storm Point, and we can see who can step up here and really take the reins tonight. But let's look at, before we go to a break, a final Mobile One high performance moment for World's Edge here today. And we'll take a peek here in this late circle. We jump on with Vizio first, who have had some flashes of brilliance today, but haven't been able to close anything out. And with Blitz going down early, Vizio just put in such a tough spot, and then Sung here not able to get away from trouble. As we jump over Lazarus, one of the other final teams here, as it was 2 open squads and one of the partner teams in this final circle. And while Lazarus are able to chase down Sung here and get another point on the board, Oxygen just patiently waiting. They have Protectful positioned on the high ground. They're able to drop the bubble here, and it makes a pretty standard push. You know, they have the numbers advantage. Lazarus already pretty hurt, and it makes it very easy as we take one final look here. Vizio, you know, they haven't quite been the same team since week 1. They really came out guns blazing in our first open night of the season, and they've had some struggles the last couple of weeks, but at the very least, it's good to see them getting into these late circles. They'll have to clean some of these things up, and of course, you know, luck certainly plays a role in these situations as well. Sometimes the circle doesn't pull to where you want it to. You catch a bad break, it certainly happens, but we'll have to see if Vizio can get the ball rolling a little better. But Oxygen just came in as the third party and cleaned up real well there on Lazarus. So well played from them. Before we go to our halftime break, do want to tell you a little bit about something we're doing newly at Esports Arena, and it's called PvE. Now, we know we certainly love running these big epic tournaments with these awesome prize pools, but we know some of you at home don't have the time to dedicate 3, maybe 4 hours to your esports competition. Sometimes you want to compete in more bite-sized pieces, and PvE is the answer. Now, starting today, you can go to your local esports arena and compete in PvE. We have 4 different leaderboards that run every single week across a range of different games, titles, and modes, and they switch week after week after week. Competition runs Wednesday through Sunday, and you can go out. All you have to do is purchase some tokens at your local esports arena. Use those to enter in the leaderboards you want to compete in, and then put up your best scores. Each leaderboard has its own individual $500 prize pool. So that's $2,000 on the line every single week. You can keep track of all of the scores from every location across the country on our YouTube channel, as we have a 24/7 YouTube live stream keeping track of all of the different leaderboards. So make sure every Wednesday to head out to your local esports arena, see what titles are being played in PvE, go put up your best scores and win some cash. As Fizzy here, testing out one of the titles you can play, Aim Labs. We do things like Mario Kart, Smash Ultimate Home Run Derby, Valorant, Halo Infinite, and more. So make sure to head out and compete today. Fizzy putting up a solid score here, just south of 65,000 there on Aim Labs. So if you can beat Fizzy and maybe some other great players from all across the country, head out to Esports Arena today. You can use exclamation point locations in Twitch chat right now, or head over to esportsarena.com. Right now, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, though, we start the second half. We're headed to Storm Point, so get ready, folks. 3 more games still remain.
All right, welcome back to Series E. In our first half, we had teams Start a Fight, Excedrin, and Oxygen all taking wins on World's Edge. Now we are swapping on over to Storm Point, but before we do so, let's go ahead and check in with the Mobile One leaderboard now to see exactly where everyone stands. Team Nerf now. Slowly, their lead has been cut into an Excedrin, find themselves in second place with 34 points, but Lazarus, a nice game there in game number 3, propelled themselves into top 3 with 32. So we have an extremely close top 10, really, after 3 games.
Yeah, I was about to say it could be potentially anyone's game to kind of pull off here as we begin to approach Storm Point. And even with a win on their belt out of Game 3 there, Oxygen really only sit kind of tied for that 6th position among both Intel and Razor here. So some of the most diverse and heavy-handed point spread I've seen among our top 10 in quite a while. I mean, no one is really forming those gaps that show me that they're a oppressive lead. I mean, this in no way is going to balloon into, say, a triple point game, something that we did see a handful of times last season.
Yeah, but with Storm Point, it becomes a completely different beast. Your team still haven't kind of found that comfort, especially trying to play to the pace that we see here on World's Edge. It's definitely something you can do on Storm Point, but we've seen teams struggle to have that success, in particular Team Intel haven't been able to find that same kind of success, being able to play extremely aggressive early on in the early game and the mid game. So here, Storm Point, things might slow down just a bit, or it might be all chaotic hell breaking loose. Let's go ahead and go into game number 4, joining on board with our winners from game number 3. That's going to be Team Oxygen.
Glad to see them show up here. I didn't even know they were coming through tonight, but it's always a pleasure because they tend to perform quite well when it comes towards our open nights and at least give what is our partnered squads a run for their money. And hopefully now with Storm Point, maybe that alleviates some of the pressure that we saw from World's Edge in the early game and allows them to find their much needed success after a win in Game 3.
Yeah, so it's going to be a very centralized position here really for Oxygen, playing off of Command Center. It is a little bit north, but the rotation down from the north side is much easier. Most hated though, getting that first fight along with Team Intel, but it's Nerf that are just wiped off the map here down at the Downed Beast.
Wow, and I know this can be a heavily contested region. I mean, you have access towards both what is that northern rotation, potentially towards Pad and the armories that give information and loot, or down towards Mills, which has been a heavy-handed hold for quite some time there. And Nerf, they lose out on it super early. Meanwhile, early 50-50s continue in strife. A Bocek unable to find what's necessary for DZO, or no, this is another squad. So DZO to fall as well, and then in return, Intelligence just cleaning this one up.
Yeah, they've got the top-down fight. They've got control over the roof. They've even got the Bloodhound and the Reaper connecting with that longbow. The only weapon that he actually had here, but it was more than enough for them. Team Intelligence winning out the fight down at Fish Farms. And I was wondering if there's going to be a lot of 50-50s. We are getting it as Lazarus just knocks out Shadow Illusions. Already down 4 squads here in the first minute and a half of the game.
All right, it's okay. It's time to take a break now. I understand we're just getting into Storm Point, but there's no reason to go this aggressive. But granted, that's information to work with. We talked a little bit about that during Game 2. Now you have the understanding of who you might be matching up against, but we don't even know anything regarding pull or the diversity of what rotations may be had. I mean, it's too early. Oh, that's cool.
We're seeing a pull toward that center side of the map, so River is going to be a lot in play just south of Checkpoint. A lot of buildings are there, but I don't think the buildings really matter. Center zone really matters at this point. Teams continuing the fight, find the fights, and maybe they'll continue to lurk around on the edges here. You can see now, better look at that ring going toward the western edge of this map. And so teams from Mill, down Beast will have a really early rotation in. Checkpoint as well. Team Excedrin coming in from there, but now it's Team Start a Fight that are rotating in for the time being. So maybe things end up slowing down now that we've already got 4 teams out, and all the teams now are starting to play for the placement points instead.
That position that we just currently saw there found in rotation from what I believe was Lazarus. I mean, that's going to be pretty impactful, that kind of no-name-esque village. Or my apologies, this was Tyson. Sometimes I get a little confused with Z Davis. We sometimes tend to see this zone pull out towards this area in particular. It leaves a little bit of that ridge in play just out there towards the north, but it's not heavy-handed towards any particular POI. So the fact that Tyson has already begun to set themselves up, you see Zay Davis lay it down with some of those fences for now and potentially retain this for quite some time.
And you still have to be careful. You might feel a little safe, of course, setting up the fence positions with the Watson, but we do know that a lot of these buildings, like you know, back in like Kings Canyon, can be porous. There are openings. You can see that there are rooftop access to be able to look down at the team, start a fight, making the rotation in. They've got to be careful, because they're only sitting on white armors on 2 of them. Rakinishu just healing up now. Never mind, that's going to be double blues for them, but still leaving them extremely fragile. But it looks like Start a Fight will be able to hunker down in this position for the time being. R301 PK for Rakinishu. He's got a nice scope on it if he does want to try and poke out with this Gibraltar. What? Might just be able to get a knock there. 134, forcing out the bubble, but Start a Fight still trying to maintain this position here, and they had just utilized that Valkyrie rotate, so they are not going to move out of this position quite yet.
No. In my sense, you know, I have a lot of questions regarding, is this a little too early? Do you put yourself in a position where you're not really particularly looted up to extend all the way through? I mean, we're talking round 1 close, and this is very likely going to be in play all the way upwards towards round 5 here for Start a Fight. I mean, it's not just successful poke. It's very likely that, yes, at some point they will have to retain kills. They will have to make the extended trades that will allow them to keep at least this building under play. Granted, that's a ways to go. We'll have to see who tries to pop up in the extended future and take this one from them.
Yeah, Spitfire flatline, not a combination of weapons I see particularly. Both of them kind of mid-range and close range overall. But you do typically want a shotgun, but we'll see. Maybe this is just their unfortunate lack of fortune at this point.
That's what they have.
Excedrin do find themselves here over by the mill side. They are safe in this ring. They can continue to utilize this position to play off the beacon here, and it looks like they will go ahead and back away to hold down this building. 2.5 minutes for this ring to pull down.
All right, there
we'll
you
get
go.
better information about it. I believe this one is pulling slightly away from Mills. You can see they are just on the edge, so they'll have access to the ring for 2 more zones now.
Yeah, it's still going to worry about a little bit of those northern rotations. We know a lot of squads will tend to utilize either all the way out towards down B's, or maybe more directly through checkpoint, coming out through that kind of open area to play into the cusp of some of those buildings. And who knows, Excedrin may run into them, but as it stands for now, they're just going to kind of pull this one low and slow out here towards the middle building, continue to loot up, secure themselves what might be their potential, as they are going to be forced to extend towards that kind of more open-ended area when we start talking about at least, well, I guess, round 4.
Yeah, they had all of checkpoint, but they're going to go ahead and loot up secondary mills there just to see whatever scraps they can get. James Fearless in the thick of things here on the rooftop by himself. Impulse tries to swap out for him, but he ends up going down for it. So Team Intel now fighting back in a 3v2, and it's up against Lazarus. They do at least trade for 1, but that's Impulse going down. Intel out. Don't even get the placement points there. In 16th place, Lazarus coming up with that Beast of the Hunt pop, just in case. And oh no, he let that Arc Star in, but the re-knock doesn't come in, as Vize actually gets pulled up just in time right after it. Spectre Esports looking to come in for the 3rd party here. The Beast of the Hunt scans coming in fast and heavy there, as Kane might go down. Goes for a quick armor swap, has that purple, and he's right back into the thick of things as he gets that spray down onto Bird. Dink will fall next, and Spectre Esports finally coming alive here in game number 4 after a disappointing first half on World's Edge.
And we know they're capable. We look at last week, 3rd place in Open. They had a fantastic run and show of things here, but it just hasn't been the same for them. Granted, the timing on that one could not have been more perfect. You roll up on the shots. Lazarus are more than weakened in their extent there, and obviously the big mistake being that massive door wide open, allowing for the perfect arcs that was crucial in Spectre taking that fight successfully. But for them, this is great. Obviously, you get the 3 KP to your name. Now I need to see what else you can do. How can you extend this? We haven't gotten any opportunity to check out the mid to kind of late game power of Spectre thus far going into week 3.
It's unfortunate that their position here in the early game is down by barometer, not having access to a survey beacon. I always found weird to have a big POI. No, never mind, hold on. We got a fight taking out, as they do trade away 1 for 1 up against Certified B. Emmers right now. MJ has been cracked. Big damage down from Base Stola, but it's a 2v1 right now. Down to a 1v1. The PK out 27, hitting for flesh. Pulls out that R301, but now he's down to 1 HP. Goes for that reload. Will go for that ego peek. Does he have time? No, he's going to go down as Certified BMers ends up cleaning that one up. Most hated, knocked out. We're down to 13 squads now.
I gotta say, like a bee to honey, squads find their way towards these IMC armories, and Certified BMers took advantage of that. They hide in the corner there, they rat this one out and get an easy peek. It feels a little scummy, but hey, if it works here for Certified BMers. Now with that loot on their back end, obviously you can hear that defensive bombardment just finishing up outside. I'm surprised no one comes through after hearing shots like that.
Yeah, again, we go down to the game state. So much aggression here in the early game. 13 squads remaining, all spread across multiple areas here. Spectre Esports going for that Valkyrie deploy. They're probably about to land onto another team as well inside of this building. We'll find out. Yup, there is a Valkyrie there. And it's great that you've got the new mythic, but I mean, you don't get to show it off for long. It's Razor taking them out. Only one player remaining. We'll see how long he can rat this one out for, but Razor getting gifted some KP there.
Like you said, just gifted it, just fall upon their lap. Most of the damage being done while they're in the midst of that redeploy for Razor. Now they just have to return, set this one back up. They still, though, peek out. They've got that squad just directly towards the south. Obviously, still trying to fight this one, finish off the job here onto Spectre right from above. That'll do him in. Box of tea there with the Hemlock.
Yeah, Razor. Again, just gifted even the loot. This is going to be a nice gift for them just because, well, they got set up pretty early on here, so they needed to top off in terms of throwables, in terms of heals. So now they're sitting pretty. You can see almost 300 ammo there for Box of Tea. All things split across as well for Blake, you, and Hollow. And so they can continue to play this position. They don't have access to that ring, unfortunately. There might be another team over there, or at least a team inside the armory keeping eyes over it for the time being. Blake U is forcing them down, and yeah, there is a team on top of that beacon building, making this basically a no-go for them to go for it. We'll see if any team actually braves going for that rooftop to try and get that scan for us. Round number 2 about to start closing in. Intelligence find themselves down at that barometer side. They have to fight out, though. It looks like do have some contest. Knee Reaper taking a lot of damage, and oh no, they don't have a Gibraltar for this, so there's going to be no bubble. He does go down, no fast res as well, and so Team Intelligence now are just going to have to scramble to try and survive.
And already you can see them pulling directly back to the heart of Barometer, not even looking to contest and find the success of pulling this one. Obviously, you're a mix of Valkyrie and Bloodhound. There's not much you're going to be able to do there, but for Clinical, it's a final wipe found. They're going to just hold hands right on the side here as Vizio are in the... I believe they're the ones that put down most of the damage there, but you can see them turning around to potentially extend on what was the backside of Clinical and Squad here from Chug Gunners.
For Team Vizio, they know that they have a lot of the south side cleared up. Ooh, Excedrin getting into a fight. Enemy already picking up 2. Probably taking the skies, and then they will knock out Reg as Kimchi Lee finishes off Cloaksy there. So that's going to be a nice pickup for our, I believe, second place team, Team Nerf.
Razor?
Went down early on as Razor ends up finding the last few members of Intelligence. Trapboard going down. Only one player remaining there left to rat this one out.
Huh. I guess, I mean, that's a pretty heavy oxygen to finish the job. Kupski there with the charge rifle. I mean, it might have been from afar, but it looks like whatever they tried to do coming out of Barometer there was very quickly spotted, most likely down kind of towards those bridges where we get this open area where we're going to see teams even like Vizio forced to make their way through. You can see them already trying to take some of these fights. The Grav Cannon out in the distance, granted, I believe that's throwing that one into zone there.
Yeah, I think that just kind of comes down to experience overall. I mean, most teams in that position, they know that they can just rotate through zone instead. They'll tank ring 2 damage and then not have to run into teams like Team Vizio. So that's definitely something that, you know, you'll go back to the drawing board on that. That's just a lesson learned, and you go next for game number 4. Here's Team Excedrin now, moving down from the mill set as this ring did pull down a bit more further south. They've got, yeah, this huge rock face to play off of. And they have a, what? Where did they get these death boxes from?
Apparently that's where the fight took place, right on top. And I suppose, I mean, we saw they were successful in the kill feed there, and now they have that to play with and work. I mean, love the utilization. They've got those shield swaps available for the future. You can see them even potentially going to maybe trade those out, continue to charge up the Eva with the utilization of that charge rifle.
Ooh, charge rifle v charge rifle. Cruisin getting a taste of his own little medicine there, as Excedrin are just gonna go ahead and give respect to the charge rifles in play. You have the flatline with a 2-4 for Kimchi Lee as well, so all three can really contribute to getting those evil shields up, except for maybe enemy. He is playing SMG LMG combo, so he doesn't quite have the range. Here's Vizio though on the eastern edge of the zone right now. Borden just firing through all of that clutter, but still dishing out some damage now as they are starting to peak on up. It looks like it was a challenge for that world drop, and unfortunately it was all looted up. We'll see, maybe there's a bat left here for him. They do buy enough space to continue to push forward now, clearing out these barrels left like breadcrumbs, just letting them know where their next KP is coming from. And oh boy, this is why you want a charge rifle. Unfortunately, Borden, we know he can beam, but he wasn't able to beam there. And Sung, what happened? You had the charge rifle, my dude.
Just taking his time, potentially didn't quite catch them out. They turn the corner, and it's already into the sky there. And it looks like Vizio will follow suit. Of course, now knowing that they're more than protect on the backside, and they do have to find their way in with that ring 3 closing. See where they'll land. We know for a fact that a majority of these buildings, especially the ones in Godspot, have been contested. Very likely right there is where we saw that squad just land. If they put themselves on the opposite side of that rock, they find their way directly in the face of Excedrin. So I'm very glad they actually put themselves behind it there. Oh, they're still taking shots in return.
I believe they spotted out a 2-man on that face of the rock there, and so they opted to try and play off that position. Here's Excedrin getting the knock onto Flinzer. That's the second knock, I believe, onto GG. So they might be down to 1 player remaining. 10 squads, 27 players left as Cruisers continue to dish out the damage. Sushi has been finished off as the defensive bombardment goes down, but Excedrin playing off his position extremely well. I love how they play here on Stormpoint. They know how to utilize these rocks extremely well. We've seen them use it to great effect in the past. Here's Vizio though, chasing after Oxygen. Got a knock on to Protectful. Now they want to finish off the job.
Right from behind there with the flat line. Borton will find the next knock on the Kubski, leaving 1 left alive right against the wall there. Blitz running up from the side has the utilization of that shield. And should take those shots, but Bort's gonna be careful from behind, still taking those charge rifle pokes that put them back for now. Meanwhile, Sung, though, finishes the job there.
Yeah, Sung gonna turn around for the final member of Oxygen, and despite getting that win in game number 3, Oxygen will go down with, I think, only placement points. Might have picked up a kill or 2 here and there from range, but that's Vizio cleaning them up. Now the ring pulling away, this time towards that north side. Excedrin should be safe on their rocks, playing on the western edge of this next zone.
And even if they're not, they pretty much the only squad that kind of retains control of that open-ended area here. That's a little bit of height. Yeah, you get the area that you can see enemy in currently right now. For a lot of these squads, though, they're going to be making their way out from some of these buildings that have retained position. We talk about dropping the ball on who landed there very, very early on. I believe it might have been Tyson, but that building is going to be the last one to play, the small L shape right in front of Excedrin here, and it might be heavily contested.
Yeah, they've got a lot of space to work with. It looks like ultimately they will have to give up this height, but they've already used it to great effect. Even though they don't have the reds, it's been damage basically spread across all 3 members. Ooh, nice charge rifle. We'll see if they can get a knock. It looks like that team does successfully at least get to the takeoff stage. Now they continue through. Looks like maybe a weapon swap is in tow for Cruisin'. Just a moment here as enemy.
There it is.
Playing off on the western edge, keeping tabs on that team there. It looks like Tyson were able to hold it down for the time being. At least 1 knock, but the quick res is there for them. Joey Blackout has to back away, but he gets taken out. It's going to be Saz. Certified BMers have been so fast in these pushes, but Oxy Aries is able to bounce back. But Tyson do not have much left in the tank as the third party is coming in. Certified BMers not being afforded the time quite yet to reset, but they're able to utilize Tyson's fences at least to slow things down. Razor walking it into the fence line here, receiving a little bit of flack, but it looks like they do stabilize at the very least. Blake Hugh hitting that bat for the time being. Boxa T rejoining his squad. they will be safe here. Now down to 7 squads, 18 players remaining, and this zone pulls out into the middle of nowhere. Hollow getting burned down. Razor, will they survive? Box of T falls. That's Vizio coming in with that thermite. Hollow has fallen. Big U, the only one up, but he does have the bubble. Vizio now, though, ready to push in, not giving him the time to try and reset here. Vizio, huge swing around in game number 3, now continuing with this momentum here in game number 4 as they end up knocking out Team Razor.
Very nice there from Vizio on the collapse, finding what was successful rotation from Auction, then turn that around. Now a rat found in the trees. Very quick Arcstar forces Blitz to rotate, but they now know they have that opportunity to potentially swing it. If they do find it, it's Borton with the 301 a lot of ways. That'll be it for GG. Glitch Gaming surprisingly lasting in the midst of being rats here. Chug Gun has also finally dropped in the midst of all that action. We were seeing Excedrin go toe-to-toe against them on that high ground for quite some time now, so they are finally eliminated, bringing us down to our final 4.
Yeah, one squad is damaged, though. I'm imagining that's probably Team Start a Fight, who just lost out on Matt Pickett. Vizio regrouping here on Heights. They will have the Beast of the Hunt for round number 5, round number 6 if they want to hold on to it, but you can see that position coming out from Excedrin. They've got the height, they've got the view over the rest of the team. Start a fight, trying their best to survive, but it looks like Saws will get the better of Rakinishu, and one gets out of dodge. Never mind for long. They do end up getting cleaned up. Aves going down there. Now the final 3 full squads remaining. We got Certified BMers, Vizio, and Excedrin all in this one, but it might just be a 2-team fight here as Vizio and Excedrin both trying to pick apart Certified BMers throughout all of this. You can see the fight coming out from enemy, and Sung might go down. The bubble just in time to keep him alive, but you can see how Excedrin are expertly playing the map now, swinging around to make sure that they are able to sandwich in that team. Vizio caught out in the middle, allowing now Certified BMers to come in. Here comes the Singularity, but both of them quite short there, but it doesn't matter. Enemy getting the knock onto Vizio, and Excedrin about to get a second win on the board. You can see the trades there. Certified BMers go down in 3rd, and Vizio will go down next. Excedrin with a second win on the board.
That has got to be the most decisive victory I've seen from Excedrin in quite a long time there. We saw them so great in their ability to retain the position up towards that high ground on top of that rock for so long, but on top of that, they were able to contest and pull away what was the only open area left out there towards the north, take out the successful fight against Chug Gunners, and then they were in the driver's seat there. And I'm pretty sure both of us were, on your call there, we were expecting Vizio and Excedrin to kind of play together, find the successful damage as Certified BMers forced out of that building there. But instead, Excedrin set themselves up with a beautiful angle that forces out every defensive resource there from Vizio in turn, as well as Certified BMers, and then it was just quick cleanup.
Yeah, that's the nice thing when it comes to Excedrin. All 3 players play in that very similar style where they try to find the openings. Even Kimchi Lee, you'll see him taking wide flanks on his ones and trying to find those openings. Enemy was the one that was able to do it that time around, and Vizio almost hard committed onto it. They saw the opportunity for the Excedrin side, took advantage of it, and secured that win. So the team that was in 2nd place going into this game should ostensibly be in 1st place. A lot of fights broke out here early on in game number 4. We were already down to 14 squads as we headed into round number 2 of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see most of our bigger names, especially Intel and Lazarus there, they fell super early on the outskirts of Barometer. In this moment right here, this allowed Certified BMers to continue on forward, but it was dicey as could be here. Stola here on his return actually extended the whole 301 clip right there in the shield, and I'll tell you what, was never able to find the reload necessary, and that paid the price as Beatified BMers were allowed to at least find their way towards that 3rd place position in the end. And
but yeah, out of the frying pan straight into the fire was Spectre Esports as they try to make this Valk rotate right into the hands of Team Razor. I don't know if they got all 3 kill points, but kill points are much needed regardless, and they got the additional loot. But this is where we knew that Excedrin basically had the win. They had such a beautiful position here. The ring still favored them. They had that nice high ground along with that additional loot up top that they can play for trades easily any day of the week.
Yeah, it could not have been a more perfect run for Excedrin there, and I'm very sure as we begin to approach what is our leaderboard, they're likely now in first place.
Yeah, let's go ahead and send it back over to Yeso, though, to break down our first game on Stormpoint for the night. Yeso, go ahead and take it away.
A hell of a start to our action on Stormpoint as Excedrin grabbed their second win of the night. They took a win in game 2 there over on World's Edge, and they kick off the half on Stormpoint here with another victory. And Jamerson and Zephyr highlighted it really well there. They played their position well, they get the high ground, they're patient, they push at the right time, and it nets them their second victory, and they just continue to be, right now, the best team in Series E. They have been so strong here through the first 2 weeks and change. They're keeping it rolling, and this is incredible growth from a team that certainly had its struggles last season, very consistently, didn't really feel like a threat for the top of the table, and now it seems like they have really stepped into their own here in Season 5, and they are really doing a great job with the spotlight here. Let's take a look, though, at our champion squad here. Another 12 kills for the team in this one. That's a big showing from the squad. Earlier, it was Kimchi leading in the frags. This time, it was enemy's turn, but it was Cruisin' with that charge rifle just beaming the entire lobby, who led in terms of damage, also picking up 3 kills and 6 assists. So really just solid all across the board here from the Excedrin squad, and they're looking really like the team to beat here early on in the season. Of course, there's still plenty more Apex to play throughout this season, so there's certainly plenty of time for teams to step into their own, start to challenge Excedrin, but at the very least, early on, the big contenders are Excedrin here. Let's take a look at another Mobile One high performance moment here with Excedrin grabbing the victory, and it was, in fact, a play that we were just looking at moments ago. Zephyr was talking about it, all the chaos here inside one of the IMC armories. It was certified BMers and most hated, and Stola here doing some good work with the PK, goes to hide behind this box and looking to use that R301, and with so little health, hoping to make a miracle happen, but as Zephyr mentioned, empties that entire clip from the R301 into the knockdown shield, and ultimately it means that certified BMers are able to get that late push, that little bit more damage to take Stola out, because unfortunately Stola is as one shot as you can be here at the end of this clip with just a sliver of health remaining, and ultimately it means that certified BMers moved on in this game, and unfortunately most hated had an early end to their action in game number 4. But they will have another opportunity, as we still have 2 more games left here on Stormpoint tonight, and we'll have the second of those 3 here coming up after this break.
Tyson boneless buffalo bites have that tasty kick of flavor, so they're perfect for any get-together. If there are any left when your guests arrive. Tyson Anytizers Chicken. More kicks of flavor, more smiling snackers, more to love. Tyson.
I'm fading!
One bad headache can crash your entire game.
Excedrin relieves headaches fast.
Excedrin, game over for headaches.
For nothing, baby. Let's get in there.
All right, welcome back to Series E. Just before the break, Excedrin got their second win of the evening, and that's super important because they were in second place heading into that game. So let's check in with the Mobile One leaderboard to see where they stand now. And it's, of course,
finally
in first, 58 points, but Vizio now behind them with 45, and Nerf have been dropped down to 4th place.
I will say, though, Vizio definitely still well in the range of competitiveness to potentially put Excedrin in their place. We know they fell fairly early on coming off the back end there, but still managed to retain points that keep them on top. Or my apologies, they went all the way to third. I'm crazy. Either way, they found their way through and through here, but now just need to seal the deal, potentially see an inkling of what was out of this roster, say in like week 1.
Yeah, importantly for these squads, though, especially in the top 4, is basically trying to hit that average. That 10-point average per game is what you're looking for if you want to keep pace. Excedrin, of course, with those 2 wins now at 58, but Vizio, Lazarus, and Nerf still well within competitive range. 2 games left to go, and with how close the leaderboard was at the start, we see that it still basically maintains to be true that any team really here in the top 6, maybe even top 8, can really break through to try and get a win, but they will have to recreate the success that Excedrin have had so far with 2 wins.
I gotta say, this is kind of crazy, just wins as a whole. Excedrin and Vizio, as they stand at the current top, are the only 2 squads to pull off full extended series victories here in our current iteration of Season 5. So looking at tonight, this is kind of like a tiebreaker potentially to see who comes out on top.
Here we go, though, heading into game number 5, joining on board for the 2nd time tonight with Team Excedrin. No, they like to drop over at checkpoint. They got that largely uncontested, so they'll have all of that loot to play off of, and they were also gifted the replicator and the beacon. An amazing start for Team Excedrin.
Yeah, no problem for them there. Going to be able to put themselves in a very strong point. And something that I actually found very surprising, especially as we tuned in with them at the very end there. They hold a fantastic position, play it out phenomenally. But surprisingly, in terms of the resources, I mean, they're sitting on full purples for the majority of what is the time going into the final moments there. And I thought that was maybe a little, I don't know. You've got Storm Point, which is probably one of the most extreme when it comes to embellishing and finding support, especially towards things like your Evo shields there. So maybe I'm getting a little too nitpicky, but it's definitely something to look at.
Most hated getting contested at Down Beast once again, about to get another team fight win. Here's Excedrin, though, actually running into a squad. iProxy is here, and now you can see everyone turning to support Kimchi Lee right now, who has already expended his bubble. Now, this is buying time. You can see the rest of the squad try to pull up, but now they find themselves in a sandwich. Mimicry going down, and Excedrin, our current lobby leaders, about to pick up another +3 here to add on to their amazing lead.
They know they've got this Valkyrie on the other side of this building trying to finish the job here. Kimchi Lee has blocked the door, finds an opening in there with the Rampage, just begins to shred this one out, and Shadow Illusions are completely eliminated here in 19th. Excedrin, they're more than happy to pick up an extra 3 KP.
And we have Team Tyson as well, picking up some kill points. Reparations now knocked out, but Excedrin worried about a possible third party there. You can see them holding up inside of the building. We do have actually Redeem pulling up onto most hated right now. Mars Streams the angle onto them. We do have the ring pulling away once again to this western edge, but this time it's favoring the mill along with the downed beast. But I think with the new addition of the downed beast, there might be a bit more of a stronger pull over towards that area. We'll find out, though. It does seem like Tyson will go ahead and back away from that fight up against Most Hated and start making their way over towards the mill.
Right. I know for a fact that I've seen finishes out directly where we see Tyson currently, this open-ended area where you get a little bit of some height disparity with some of these rocks, but none of the major POIs in place. So that's definitely something that you have to keep some notice out for. Granted, right now, as it stands, you're more than likely looking to set yourself up for rotation, so you pull directly towards that mill area or what is the down beast for now. For Tyson, you can see them just playing around the inkling of the river here, might pull back, look for seconds up towards the mill once they put themselves maybe in a more comfortable position.
Yeah, they'll have beacon control. They do get their first scan, it seems, and so they'll have a better idea of where they want to go. It seems like they were playing off of no information and started pulling up towards that down beast just in case, because they could just rotate down instead, making it much easier. But now they are going to go ahead and back off towards the mill. And I don't know exactly how well this position plays with that Watson. There are so many entrances into this building. I think this might just be a looting path for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Loot and go. Get out of there. I don't think it adheres well towards your composition. And we know for a fact there's a plethora of minute buildings, especially out here towards the west, that could provide more fruitful for them. Obviously, you take advantage of some of the prowlers to work with, and then maybe find your way back towards either the beacon building or set yourself up for where you predict this god spot to be.
Yeah, they're pulling far west, and so they might not want to commit to that building whatsoever. It's Team Vizio actually playing this one extremely slow. They're over at Thunderwatch right now when the ring is pulling all the way over towards that western edge. But again, teams that are running the Bloodhound are probably going to want to find these fights on the edges, take the time to craft, make sure that they have all the loot that they need, and especially the meds, because you're not guaranteed good meds all the time here. So you can see for now, they're just going to go ahead and utilize that. There's another team actually just off to their east, so even slower on the rotate. But Born is just keeping a good eye on it for the time being. He's going to use his crafting credits there as well. But for Team Vizio, they are in no hurry whatsoever. They are in a beautiful spot in terms of the leaderboard, and it's about maintaining pace more than anything else with Team Excedrin throughout all of this. Team Intel, though, might find themselves in a fight here on the south side of the zone.
Yeah, right in the midst of the village where we saw our first zone end. You can see a bit of a peak there as we got the squad rotating back over towards the IMC armories. Shots being found, Impulse with the wingman, but no drops as of yet. It is a crack, so this will allow them the potential to maybe go in, clean this one up. Dome's going down in just a moment, but they find their way inside that building, and we both know that can be a bit harder to press, but with cracks like that, I mean, pull the trigger.
Impulsive Dream wants to go in. He gets to connect with that missile storm. He's got the arc star covering the top, which allows him free rooftop access. But like I said, these buildings are porous. You have to be careful as he finds the angle now. Fearless though pushing forward, getting challenged, gets cracked himself, and he gets a secondary. Now as Razor comes in, Team Intel not able to find the fight that they've been looking for in the early game here on Stormpoint will go down early once again.
And that is just a resource disadvantage there. We talk about the timing. I mean, maybe it just had to be a little bit faster. Meanwhile, Spectre making a name for themselves in terms of third parties once again coming through here now in Game 5. Find the singularity down. Gordo looking for the shots. It's a massive crack with the Arc Star. This should be the entrance they need to finish the job.
That's a nice Arc Star, slowing things down for Team Razor as Spectre Esports are looking to get revenge up against Razor right now. The bubble has been expended, landing the push up. Spectre Esports taking a lot of damage, and now it's just Gordo by himself while his teammates are just trying to hit fast onto those blues. Kane will go down. Hollow picks that one up. It's a 3v2 in favor of Team Razor, and oh my goodness, the Eva shots not connecting there. Razor will be able to clean this one up leisurely and get the reset once again. That's 2 team fights in a row going Razor's way with almost no issues whatsoever.
Man, mind you, they're in a fantastic position when we talk about zone. It's not like they're pressed to make moves right now. They have all the time in the world to take advantage of those death boxes. Meanwhile, as we tune out here towards our no-name village on the western end of Mills, you can see a few squads have hosted themselves here. Notably, Start a Fight being one of them, but you can see them taking shots. They're going to have to pull back towards the furthest extended building. Granted, looks like this area will still likely be within play when we start talking about Zone 3.
A big question here is what happened to Tyson, because we saw them basically running around, and I know a few of the names popped up on the wrong side of the leaderboard. Wondering if they've been knocked out. We do have 3 players missing out of the lobby, so maybe they're currently ratting this one as teams start a fight, are still looking for this opening. They get some decent damage off. That Valkyrie's still alive. I'm wondering if that's the last player of Team Tyson.
Could potentially be, but we do get a little wind that there are a few members there, but whatever the answer is now, it's been confirmed. Kill feed found. Flinzar coming through there with the flatline does eliminate Oxy, and that'll be it for Tyson. We're never really able to find a confident rotation out of Mills. Meanwhile, Guppies of all squads, surprised the name ain't Oxygen.
They are, they're, fishing a large pond. I mean, Apex Legends, you got to make a name for yourself somehow. eventually become the Shark. Hopefully, we'll see, and become the Apex Predators. Oh, see, tying it all in, making all the references.
I appreciate that. It's smooth words like that. Either way, start a fight here. They've had full time to potentially put damage down on a situation like that. They had the opportunity to see the full drop. Mind you, now they know there are 2 squads in this building. Oh my gosh. All right.
Glitch Gaming, I believe, were the first team that got on top of Team Tyson. I believe they picked up 2 of the kill points there. Right now, Flynn's are sitting with 3. Don't know how much across the board, but they're in a pretty decent spot. Again, being able to rotate into this zone should be a little bit easier. You've got the buildings to hop in from. There's also a Trident spawn down to their south if they can get their hands on that one, and Flynn's will be very useful for that kind of rotate. We do have barrels getting popped here, as Glitch Gaming are just taking stock of what they've got around them. But now, as we enter into zone number 2, about to close in about a minute and a half, there's 14 squads remaining, 41 players. So looks like 1 squad currently playing this one out as a duo. We'll find out who that is in short time.
I gotta say, I don't like moments like these. Like, obviously, you set yourself up for early game. You've got control here that's probably going to last at least into zone 3. But the problem is you've got that kind of 50-50 bubble swing that will become a precedent. Meanwhile, Most Hated on the other side, down here towards the downed beast, able to find the wipe onto Reg.
Now, Most Hated, again, have been a huge early game threat. And, you know, they go, I would say, largely kind of untalked about. I think it was basically off the back of the 50-50s that was taking place last week. It wasn't the most favorable for them, going 2 for 3 when they were over at Thermal Station, but they did enough to at least bully Excedrin out of their drop spot. So despite even going down in numbers, with that last team fight win in game number 3, they've done enough to garner at least some sort of respect. Now here they go, trying to fight over this beacon now. The bubble is here for them. They need to wait out 15 more seconds, though, for this zone to close. Getting contested for this beacon is just so bad. As they realize them, they're just going ahead and give it up for now. Charge rifles are in play. It's Team Excedrin, speak of the devil.
And we saw them fairly early on, the rotation out from checkpoint. Looks like they put themselves upon the downed beast here. Now, they've already expended a bit of damage down from below, but I like the fact that they do hold position out here towards the west. They continue to look out towards this area. As you can already see, Cruisin taking some shots from the charge rifle. I mean, I'm getting deja vu. It feels a lot like game 4.
Very similar. The ring is pulling up towards this downed beast, despite how much of it was in ring 1, ring 2, kind of favoring Mills. This new POI just has a pull on that algorithm, and you really do have to keep in mind. So Team Excedrin played off of that knowledge. We're able to gain this position. This is beautiful for them. For BAC, one of the teams on the eastern side. It might have been the team that Lazarus were keeping an eye on that late rotate from the eastern side. And BAC are going to get out of dodge with this Trident. I don't know if they don't have a bubble yet, but it looks like they'll be safe to start rotating through as they make their way on in.
I mean, I'm just glad to see them lasting longer than a fight against Glitch here. At this point, round 3 might be the furthest that we've seen BAC last for them. They'll take their time just making their way through that cave into the kind of checkpoint area, but we know for a fact that it's going to be very difficult, as this can be quite the open-ended zone, especially when we talk about rotation, whether it be out from the northern area or more directly toward this kind of lay of the land that Cruisin is giving us right now. I mean, you're having to post up directly against damage that will be sourced out by squads like this.
Yeah, and he was the only team to hit, he was the only player on his squad to hit 4 digits, I believe, in that last game, all due to that charge rifle. Enemy was around 900, Kim Chi-Ling, I think, also around 800. So it wasn't the most decisive win, but it was enough, of course, posturing with that charge rifle, keeping teams at bay. Just the sound of the charge rifle, you gotta imagine, just strikes fear into everyone across the map, and Excedrin are definitely utilizing that. Ooh, they spot out 185, almost got the full connect onto that Caustic, making him second guess peeking out from that building.
Oh, I mean, Excedrin, I mean, it's slim picking. Just come on. They're bullies. They're bullies upon the beast for now, and we'll see how that transitions, but they're more than secured in their position. For Vizio, though, this is a rotation that still hasn't net much success. Remember, BAC just kind of came through this area, and I heard your oot there. Yeah, enemy was officially dropped. Wonder if they'll get that revive off on top of the beast.
All right, here we have Vizio, I believe, tailing BAC, who had just made their way through this, and now the Beast of the Hunt's going to get popped by some. The first scan coming in, and I love that. He spots the one on the right there. He tries to back away. Borden trying to find an angle on the left, but now it looks like Team Vizio second-guessing things. Looks like things are going bad, though, on the Excedrin fight there, as Most Hated ends up taking out 2. Leaves only Kimchi Lee alive, and they are now eliminated in top 13. Really not getting much there. Team Vizio, though, back onto this fight now. The scan comes out. There's a knock onto Kaisener, and it is BAC. We're about to get eliminated, and they get taken out. There's already an instant third party, but the scan just forcing them back. I love the pickup of that Bloodhound for Team Vizio here after game number 3, but Sung gets cracked, has to back away. There is a bubble as Team Nerf now looking to come in. That was the squad looking for the third party. And it seems like we got a little bit of a glitch there. We're hearing that Rampage popping off in the background, unfortunately. But Team Vizio able to reestablish themselves here and stabilize now, picking up all of BAC's loot.
Well, here's the problem, though. Zone closing in. We know for a fact that it's likely that they either have to take fight, but it looks like from the side here, Nerf, who is putting pressure down, are actually the ones to have to turn tail and start to defend themselves. Noticeably, we have Force1 on that Bangalore. This was a very common pick back towards what was Season 4 when Stormpoint was originally introduced, and we could see utilization of the Rolling Thunder now taking advantage of that grab lift to land right on top of this one. Down with the car, first found onto Kemlev there. Now more damage ringing through that Singularity, providing the necessary advantage as they eliminate Chug Gunners. But now we know for a fact Vizio was just waiting to walk in.
Yeah, kind of odd fight coming out from Chug Gunners to try and take that, especially when they heard the shots coming out. They know that they were basically third-partying a fight between these two squads, and so it almost grieved to Nerf there, and it's Vizio who came out the victors in that one, picking up more kill points. On all that, we do have the Valkyrie, though, trying to get out to survive, but we're never going to be able to recover these banners. Unfortunately, Vizio can camp this one for now. There's 1 minute and 40 seconds here in round number 4 for them to just kind of laze about and walk in with this next zone. Speaking of the next zone, now we are now down to 9 squads, 27 players, so that is that 1 player remaining, unfortunately, for Team Nerf to rat this one out.
Bit of a shame here. I am curious to see what Vizio has in store for us, though, especially as we start to look out here towards this opening. We talked a lot about how it can be very open-ended, especially trying to compete for a position directly ahead of where Vizio wants to go here. Now, we know for a fact Excedrin no longer in play, but that doesn't still change that there are squads like Most Hated, right, that could be taking advantage of high ground position or control that prevent healthy rotations here. Hey, look at that.
This is a huge opportunity, by the way, for Team Vizio now to catch up against Team Excedrin. But Most Hated might be making a run here in the second half, really, to come back. Excedrin did get back, or excuse me, 2 wins, but now leaves it open for Most Hated in this position to really be able to capitalize off of this. They have at least 5 kill points. They're in a position now to even get the plus 12 here, and you can see why this spot was so strong. I don't know exactly what happened to enemy for him to go down to Most Hated, but you can see the absolute aim coming out from Most Hated. They are doing a great job of just keeping teams at bay. The Valkyrie teams want nothing to do with them. We'll just go ahead and bypass them. You gotta keep an eye on the tail of the downed beast. Imagine this was the same approach that Most Hated took to really capitalize on Excedrin, not giving them enough respect.
Yeah, it's tough to cover. I mean, the down beast itself is a massive POI. What's thankful for them, though, at this current point, a good portion of it is no longer playable due to zone, and that does allow Most Hated a little bit more comfort in the terms of how they begin to approach the endgame. Meanwhile, squads like Razor on the low ground, they're forced to fight. They're forced to go toe-to-toe now as everyone is finding their way out from the south or in from checkpoint like Vizio.
They do have access to the inside, but it does seem like there's a team currently in there now. So Voxa T instantly nopes out of that one. as honestly, they could just play this pocket for now. They don't have to go for risky peeks, because when you have most hated right above you, you got to be worried about that nerf. Finally, job is done. Vizio cleaning that one up. Turns goes down. 8 full squads remaining here, as Vizio were able to just walk this one on in. They've got this building to use as a nice pit stop for them, but eventually they're going to be forced out into the open. A defensive bombardment out here from Blitz. I feel like that might have been a little bit mistimed. Maybe he gets one back if he has an ultimate excel for round number 6.
I'm curious to see who's laying on the pressure out there that forces a move like that. Obviously, they've got most of their attention paired out here towards the south, but we know for a fact we just saw a squad land in this area off on the side. There's not much of a real entryway for the next rotation here for Vizio. There you can see on that scan, most hated still on top of the beast itself.
Yeah, they should have been able to get word that there's a team inside of the down beast that they have to worry about, but it doesn't seem like that team is under any pressure to actually poke their head on out. The zone closing right on top of the down beast, inside the throat of the down beast. This is an awkward one, but Blitzen, okay, finds a knock onto Bird, but I believe already Lazarus are in dire straits. They're getting focused down now, into a corner inside the mouth of that down beast there as they push forward. The bubble is there. Team Vizio should have time of cleaning things up. Born just needs a quick armor swap if he needs to reset himself, but he will just go ahead and back away to hit that bat. So now Team Vizio just creating their own opening to get into the zone. The ring will be pulling away to the western side though, so they still have a little ways to go to get into the safety of the zone. 35 seconds now as it closes in.
Here's the problem. They got to play right on the open end of that mouth there. And we know for a fact every other squad coming out of the buildings here just towards the southern end are also going to be looking to compete in the same area. We tune in, of course, with Most Hated still on top, of course, as they have a great lay of the land for us as they get to take a look at all these squads. Get to curl on their toe. Vizio, they make their way inside, though.
Yeah, we'll see. This should be a largely isolated fight for them, but Sung now drops down low. He's got to be careful. Doesn't have an arm swap close to him. He has to hit that bat. But Borden and Blitz are extremely healthy here as they push out. They've got plenty of space for Sung to heal up, and he's right back into the fight. Borden going for the challenge, forced back at the very least. Hasn't been cracked, but will hit a bat of his own now. 45 seconds left before they have to start making their move. But Blake Yu ends up charging, barreling straight into that car. And he gets run down. A third-party attempt out from that team outside. But again, Vizio are extremely healthy. It looked like it was Most Hated that were looking for an opening there, but they've got that grab lift to retake height for themselves. Now Vizio with at least 8 kills. You can see Born with 5 kills isn't even the kill leader. This is going to be a massive game for Team Vizio here in game number 5.
Here's my question, though, for Vizio now. They're in a very tough position when we start talking about rotation. How are they going to approach the exit from the down beast here? We know all other squads, or except for Most Hated, find their way on the interior of those buildings. It's very likely they're going to have to run real tight up against some wall here.
We have Most Hated up top, the constant threat, Sung with the scan out. I wonder if he was able to note that which position, which angle they're holding from above them. That is the big question. You can see how scared they are to actually peek out. They're doing their due diligence, checking all their angles, now playing off of this corner here. Luckily for them, the teams contesting inside of those buildings in the middle of the zone cannot really peek out. The Most Hated is their biggest threat right now, but it looks like both teams are kind of avoiding each other as Most Hated decide to take that south wraparound instead to try and get to the wall. And they will be able to make their way on in.
I mean, I like this for Most Hated. It sets themselves up for the further fights, a position where they can capitalize on the chokes as teams make their way outside, but they've got to win this one first. Mars streams taken low, dome expended. They're going to take the time to expend the bat. Mind you, this is giving Vizio the rotation they need right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a free walk-in for them as 2 teams are occupied on the outside here, 2 teams occupied on the inside. Vizio,
look at this.
Ace of the hunt for the final fight here. 5 full squads. No one has gone down quite yet. Still not clear who can walk away with this win. The scan bubble has been utilized. There's start a fight, getting a knock onto GG. Sushi down now. GG left with 1 player remaining as Vize's dad goes down. Guppies are out. Oxygen have been knocked out. Team Vizio still controlling the outside, but they lose out on one. It's going to be most hated, taking out Blitz. But now they charge forward. They do have the man advantage as MJ takes to the skies here, and Blitzen can only watch on. Matt Pickett tries to go out, but take a look at excellent control from Gordon, but he's the only one alive right now. Start a fight with the two-man. Aves needs some time to try and heal, but it doesn't look like he's got it here. Armor swap will be used for him. No, Recognition ends up stealing that one, but here comes a drop down from Gordon, and that could be crucial here as he takes the fight up against the Gibraltar. Gets one knock, and Team Vizio walk away with the win despite being down to one man there for the final fight.
What a play in the end! Vizio, they take to the skies. They're at a man disadvantage. The missiles come through at just the moment. Borton there from the sky. That is such an incredible win. I mean, at this point here, Vizio shoot through the standings coming into those final moments. We knew for a fact they had already taken at least 3 to 4 squads on the rotation into the downed beast, and they were more than successful on their way out to on top of the win.
Yeah, there's a huge possibility that Vizio might have had a 30-point game. Here's Spectre Esports, a team that was turning heads in week number 2, just still have not been able to find quite the success today. This was a really bad fight as they try to push in. And we all know when you back a cat into the corner, that cat's got claws, and they do fight back into this one. I believe it was Razor who were on the other side of this one. Yeah, Hollow getting that knock onto Kane first, and it was easy cleanup for Team Razor after this.
And for Spectre, I mean, you just had to come through a little bit quicker. They allowed for too much in terms of some, at least respite for them to find a source of shield to work with that allowed them to find a fight back there, because what started was a really good singularity into a massive Arc Star break, but they just never were able to compare here. We tune, of course, with Vizio, and this is obviously where they start, and it was this initial fight. They take this one, but then they actually pull back and return to pull for a third party that ended up crucially eliminating Nerf.
Yeah, and we have to talk about, again, we talked about it a bit earlier on, the strength of Legends when it's not the huge meta to be able to run them. We saw a smattering of picks of Bloodhound. Maybe 3 or 4 teams are running it, but when the enemy side doesn't have that Bloodhound of its own, that Beast of the Hunt scan coming in every 7 seconds, you can see how well they're able to utilize it here in the early game, and then of course transition that into the late game as well. It was just a masterclass in being able to play around the Bloodhound throughout all stages of this game.
Yeah, and Vizio, they then extend that towards what is an incredibly dicey rotation out from checkpoint, towards very slowly but methodically approaching building after building into control of the down beast. And then on the outskirts, I mean, both me and you thought that was potentially likely over there for Vizio, with a very early knock taking place to start a fight, picked one of them off there, but very clearly did they clean up the rest of that lobby given the chance. And even in the 2v1 situation there, Borton still came in clutch.
All right, before our next break, let's go ahead and send it over to Yeso to break down game number 5, which there's plenty to break down there. So Yeso, go ahead, your work is cut out for you.
I couldn't agree with you more there, Jamerson. I feel like I'm kind of at the buffet line here, and there's just all these great dishes that Vizio served up in that game. They come out with the win, and what a hell of a finish there. Let's take quickly a look at our champion squad before we jump into the Mobile One high performance moment from that last game. Look at that stat line there. A total of 17 kills here for Vizio. A huge game from a team that has been kind of silent, honestly, since their week 1 performance. It obviously hasn't been that long, but they really weren't making a ton of noise last week. And tonight hasn't been the biggest of showings for Vizio up until Game 5, but they were absolutely firing on all cylinders here in game number 5, and they performed really well. And of course, let's jump to that Mobile One high performance moment. And this is one where there, you probably have 3 or 4 plays from this game that you could put in this spot, but it had to be the clutch here at the end. And I feel like probably the big key for me is, of course, Borton makes a great play at the end, but it's actually how much both Blitz and Sung get done before they go down. Blitz goes down early, but right here, right when Start a Fight wants to come out of the building, they're looking for the third party. Sung still gets it done. Borton on top of the building as well, getting a lot of damage, and it just means that despite Start a Fight getting the third party opportunity, they aren't coming in as a full squad. They aren't coming in at full health, and it means despite Rack getting the armor swap here, look, Aves is one shot, and Borton able to get up into the air, drop the rockets on their heads, and with such a small margin for error there, Borton does not miss. Ice in that player's veins right there, and it's a reason that Vizio grabbed the win in game number 5. That was so much fun, and it just gets me more excited because we still have one game left, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go to a break right now, but when we come back, Jamerson and Zephyr will take a look at that Mobile One leaderboard, and we'll get you set for our final game of the night. Don't go far.
All right, welcome back to Series E. Before the break, we had Team Vizio take a monstrous win in game number 5. So let's see what that means for us on the Mobile One leaderboard. And that's going to be a resounding 12-point lead now over Excedrin, who had gone down extremely early there in game number 5.
It's still incredibly close here, especially in terms of the running for our top 2, where that prizing still does exist. And with games like that, we can still count in probably the likes of all the way down to 7th place here, depending on how Excedrin fare. Granted, if Excedrin show up to play out game 6, even to extend to what could potentially be that top 7 there, then it's very likely that they'll finishing at the top here. But it still has yet to be answered who's taking away week 3 yet.
Yeah, it's a nice position for Team Vizio to be in because they are safely within range to finish top 2. I don't really see them actually dropping the ball there because that would have to be a 26-point game or 27-point game for Razor to be able to take first place away from them, or even second place if Excedrin have a big game number 6. So Vizio basically have secured top 2. The question is, Excedrin, where do they fall? They could be the first place team, but they could also end up losing out on the second place bonus, $150 there, and they do not want to miss out. But overall, we still have to commend them because they have been extremely consistent throughout the day. 62 points at their 5 games is definitely an accomplishment to be happy about. But I love how we're seeing our partner squads, Razor, Nerf, all really maintaining competitiveness at this point. But for teams that had a strong start, like Start a Fight, Lazarus, slowing things down a little bit here heading into the final game of the day.
All right, that level of consistency is very well making itself clear here as we make our way through the very last embers of Stormpoint, and obviously our partnered squads faring the best. Granted, that in itself is something that I still love to talk about as we develop this narrative, because, I mean, it was just earlier today that it was Yeso sitting there on the couch saying, you know, they had an incredible breakout week 1 game here from Vizio, and it just hasn't quite matched up the same way. And we're only 2-3 games later, and they're staying top of the leaderboard here, continuing to show off that the newcomers still retain so much control.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing is, though, like, throughout the 5 seasons that we've had of Series E so far, I mean, these are not names that we're strangers to. These are known quantities for us, and so we know how strong they are. And it's great to see that they're able to flex so far now, coming into the season, getting a 74 points after 5 games. Team Vizio could feasibly get that triple digits by the end of the night if they repeat that performance in game number 5. Excuse me, game number 6. But speaking of game number 6, here we go. Heading into the final game of Open Night here for week number 3. Let's join on board with Vizio. We had a slower start to game number 5. They were taking their time on the eastern edges here to loot up, and they were definitely rewarded for it.
Yeah, and even then, we saw them. What was their first impression of that game where they picked up KP was up against BAC on the entrance of Checkpoint there, and it just continued to ramp, even though they were playing Edge. And you brought this up, and I got to give credit to it. It does bode a lot on that pick, that Bloodhound being so strong in terms of allowing for information, especially when you are running right up tail and against that edge. It allows you the access necessary where you are able to respond against those who might have a better position that you then capitalize on.
Yeah, I can't quite remember games 1 and 2 exactly what they were running, but I think it was that game 3 where they made the swap off onto Bloodhound. I mean, they could correct me. But this time around, though, Vizio action's going to come towards them. They're not going to have to rotate far at all as this ring ends up pulling to the northeast side. But this one is, of course, very, very difficult to call. You have Command Center, Thunderwatch, Stormcatcher in as well. And that north side just outside of High Point, that pass is also an area they have to keep an eye out for. But hold on, DZO currently in a fight. Blue Dawn is already low. Got the 1 kill at least, or trading away down to a 2v2, but Ace will fall quickly. Next, Thief does clean up though. Spectre Esports are out. One of our dark horses from last week that did end up turning heads now, not able to recreate that success here in week number 3.
Yeah, it's just been a rough day, but hey, things have changed. Who knows? It is 13.1, and while we haven't had the opportunity to talk about the subtle changes that have existed, they do still hold some impact, and maybe it's something that Spectre is being faced to deal with tonight here. Of course, Reparations also falling in 19th, not making much of a showing here on our open night. Meanwhile, we tune in, of course, with Intel, and I have to say, out of all of our partnered squads, this is the one I'm surprised the most, especially regarding where their performance lies coming out of week 3. I believe right now they sit in 11th place, having constant just early downfalls. You know, last time around it was sitting outside a barometer. Coming through, it was a third party that picked them off here. And you have to remember, we look at less than 2-3 months ago, right? Coming out of season 4, Intel pairs together this squad, you know, halfway through, and they just pop off. I mean, they give Vizio a potential run for their money, and it just hasn't been the same.
Yeah, I think for Team Intel, it's just been largely growing pains with the meta shifting, especially here on Stormpoint. They were able to run Fearless on the Bangalore extremely well, along with, I believe they were playing Ashe. And so they weren't really playing around a Gibraltar, if I remember correctly. And so they had great duelists in Ashe and Valkyrie, along with that Bangalore. But now that Bangalore has fallen out of favor, they're kind of still trying to adjust. I would like to see them maybe have a second go at trying to play an Ashe again, because I think she is still incredibly potent on this map. But yeah, I mean, it's still the early beginnings of the season. We still have like 9-10 weeks ahead of us, so they have plenty of time to really figure things out. It's, you know, week number 7, week number 8, where they do need to kind of iron it all out and have things set in stone at that point.
Right. I just do find it very interesting to go from such dominance off the back end of season 4, where we talk about James Fearless. He was our MVP that we awarded during our draft day, right? I mean, there was such an incredible kind of pull through coming in on week 8 and then suddenly make Intel a known quantity. And it's just a problem that I hope finds its resolution here, as I mean, no one's slowing down around you, it seems like. Even for squads like Vizio, who I still can't get over this. Obviously, I mean, you bring up the fact that we know entities like Sung coming off of Dexterity here recently and previously, obviously, finding themselves a major foothold in the Apex scene alongside individuals like Borton and Blitz. I mean, these guys definitely perform across the board through and through, but there's still a level of pressure being the new kid on the block and then finding that success, you know, at least 2 of the 3 weeks we've seen thus far.
And right now, immediately, the pressure on Vizio is just to maintain this first place position here in game number 6. They are slow playing things. They don't have to force the issue. They have a 12-point lead over Team Excedrin. They just got to make sure that they keep pace with them. They don't need all the kill points. They just need maybe a top 2, top 3 finish, and that might be enough to secure that win for them. Because right now, Team Excedrin, they're not getting much going, even though they need to basically make up that difference between the two teams. Vizio, though, over at Stormcatcher, meet a little bit of resistance as there is a team on that main building. Try to get a good look at it. It doesn't seem like there is a beacon there. And so it's still a good passive position to play here, especially when the ring is pulling up towards this side of Storm Point.
Curious to see if they might pull back sometime soon. I don't like the composition, especially for trying to hold position for Vizio, as it's not really particularly built for that. Meanwhile, for Lazarus here, you can see that Beast of the Hunt, another Bloodhound in play. They're just trying to catch the back and the inkling of what was these original fights. I believe this was being DCO, and it's a nice crack found there in the Valkyrie. Hypnotics will drop. Gotta check and see if that was the particular Valkyrie, and that is indeed, and they land right on top of them here. Shadow Illusions is the squad Lazarus pick up in full here.
Yeah, you saw instantly as he was able to notify this team that they're going for the Valkyrie. They knew exactly where you have to aim for. When that bubble is expended to go for that Valkyrie, you just wait. There's that little bit of slowdown at the tip of at the apex of that dome, and they utilized that extremely well. The timing was there. Oh boy, we got to keep an eye on the kill feed though, as Sung has gone down to Flinzer. That's a PK. That's a close quarters combat fight, and so the fight is coming towards Vizio now. We'll see if Glitch Gaming, who have not found much success at all today, will play spoiler to Team Vizio.
Yeah. That could potentially come through, throw a wrench in the plans, allow for squads like Excedrin, or even potentially Nerf to make some trades within that top 2 here. Doesn't seem like the kill feed is lighting up any further. Granted, things like the full revive are a big question. Obviously, though, it looks like Chuggunnas coming through from behind onto Sushi there might have provided a third party that allows for Vizio to escape.
Yeah, so we'll have to keep a close eye on the top right of our screen for now as Lazarus continue to rotate through from Antenna, another team that picked up the Bloodhound early on throughout today's games. Glitch Gaming has been knocked out. Vizio picked up one of those kills, and there is the bubble res onto Sung. So Vizio still in things, along with picking up some kill points, or a kill point there. Sung with that gold armor will be able to quickly top off. Born only 200 damage away now from getting the red evo as well. Vizio are set up for the late game. It's all about weathering the storm here.
Right, and there's still a lot of opportunities for teams to pose right here to Vizio. Let's see the way those rotations find their way through. Meanwhile, Most Hated, a dangerous early game, looking to clean up here. Shots found back, gravity lift available. The top of our potential pineapple here. Maybe get towards that floor, but gotta be careful. Spending quite a bit of time, gonna have to run actually back out towards the ring, get some heals off before they reapproach this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is just ring number 1. They can indefinitely basically stay out here. They do have one more med kit there for MJ, so he might be out of heals after that. Now he's got plenty of syringes, 3 more left to go in the back pocket. Now, it's about trying to cut off the angles here, but we know how difficult these shuttles can be to push, but when you get an opening like that, you take it. MJ now with the grab lift pushes forward, has to deal with his Valkyrie out. They got the first knock onto Hollow, and now Razor are eliminated in 16th. Third party attempt, though, for Team Intel here, as now they're coming in. There's one down player. It's Fearless and Cloaksy. No, it was actually the counter third party helping them out. So Most Hated can actually thank Team Intel for stopping that third party. There they go, picking up that loot now as Impulsive Dream will go ahead and push up with that Valkyrie. Has roof control on this shuttle now. He's got to be careful peeking in. Spots on the controller, somehow misses on the big boy. I don't know how. Bubble has been used, and now Team Intel want to continue applying the pressure here, but they've got to be careful. They got to know that most hated are probably gone for that full reset. Nice singularity, but unfortunately they're on the first floor there. Is Fearless now is going to be abducted by that gravity lift, and all hell has broken loose outside of this shuttle right now. Gravity has been turned off, as now Impulsive Dream will be the first one to fall. Most hated fighting back into this one. James Fearless has gone down, and Team Intel now down to just Mooney remaining here. He does have some fight left in him, but it's not enough, as they will survive. Team Tyson, though, find themselves in a fight right now up against BAC. War Monkey Games losing out on 2 already, and it's going to be Team Tyson picking up the +2 at the very least. We'll see if they can finish off the rest of BAC.
Oh, for Tyson, they do retain position, pull back here. Going to spend some time with the deck boxes after their successful trade, but man, Intel, I mean, I understand what you're looking to do. I mean, I still feel that inkling of Intel, the aggression that this team was known for coming off back into Season 4. And you can see them try to pull that one off against Most Hated, but those guys are just on fire tonight, able to defend against multiple squads in tow, and now continue to put themselves, you know, in a competitive position. I mean, they're still in the running if we see squads like Excedrin Nerf potentially fall here within the next minute or so, where those placement points aren't too hefty yet.
Certified BMers taking out Team Lazarus there, as Tyson surviving on the edges on the northeast side of this zone. Now, Team Tyson, another squad that we're expecting so much more out of, playing as Team Radine, but so far today, some of the fights just have not gone their way. They're getting challenged now from the north side. It's going to be Team Excedrin here, as they note that this ring is pulling up towards the north. That's what we were talking about. You get that trifecta of POIs in this ring, but there's still this pull up towards the north that can happen, and Excedrin played off that extremely well.
Yeah, they pull back off the back end of that defensive bombardment. Now they run right, though, up against the wall. Granted, you can run back into that one, maybe find a rotation towards the cave if things get a little too dicey here for Excedrin, but I know for a fact that, I mean, we talked about it. They need the KP. They need some source of kills to put themselves above Vizio, who does have that gap ahead of them, and still are well and alive in this game. Looks like their own return with the defensive environment, the gravity lift providing the beams necessary with the 301. I'm sure Excedrin are happy to find that back on the ground.
Yeah, enemy's got to be careful though, as he notes that their team could rotate in from that south side. So he's just keeping an eye on it for now, and there is someone up there. Team Excedrin backing away. They're safe for now. They'll have about 2.5 minutes really to play off of this round to continue to try and deal with this, but again, this is such a tough spot to be in. Will they just be able to back away? Quite possibly. Cruisin has pushed up to this rock though, and I think they're just kind of hoping that the team that was off to their south actually apply some pressure onto this rock squad for now, but Excedrin are expending a lot of meds for this one. Cruisin going for that peak, almost gets a full connect. Kimchi Lee dropped down low though, forced to bat up. See if he's got a bubble for that. He does have one more helping him out. It's Team Tyson on the other side of this one. Getting off of that. Bubble has been used. There is the black hole instantly cleared out from Team Tyson. On their toes here for this fight right now, and Excedrin now out of options. Might have to back away from this fight, and Tyson know it. They want to try and chase.
They still have the option for zone rotation. It'll take a bit of damage here, but 3 is still workable here for Excedrin. Obviously, they've expended every possible resource, and it hasn't proved fruitful. Meanwhile, Most Hated continuing on this line of aggression. We know they need a big game if they want to play competitive here. It's a crack found and a drop on this lens there on the low side, the very entrance of the wall. They've got a perfect angle. They're just standing. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah, Clixie just accepting his fate there at the end. He saw that Gibraltar just turn around like, yeah, all right, I've got nowhere to go. We've already used our bubble. Most Hated. Now, the kill leaders is MJ with 4. He's got 4 assists as well. Bringing us down to 12 kills throughout all this Excedrin.
There it is.
Looks like they took note. They will go ahead and use that Valkyrie rotating. expertly actually using the geography of the map. Having that mountain skyline leaves them a lot less vulnerable, and they're going to make their way into that Thunderwatch area, playing underneath. This is a position, though, they have to be careful about. It's going to come down to Kimchi Lee and his bubbles, the timing's on it, but for the time being, looks like they haven't been quite spotted out. Cruisin taking some chip damage there. They'll be able to back away. What is their next plan?
Yeah, this is tough here. You have to find your way up or go competitive. They know for a fact that they've got multiple squads towards their north, so they can't find their entrance through the standard one that exists here towards High Point, but they still have potentially ability with the swing on Kimchi Lee with that bubble that might be the make or break moment here for Excedrin.
Oxygen, they've got a team caught out. I'm wondering if this is most hated actually rotating through. The bubble's getting popped. Excuse me, the barrel's getting popped. The bubble's already been used as well. So Oxygen now in a commanding position, just completely forcing this squad back.
Oh, I love this.
Looks like they are kind of committed onto this spot, unless that Valkyrie has the ultimate for them to get past this mountain line, or even if they have clearance. It's hard to tell from here. You can see the barrels continuing to go down to apply pressure onto them, forcing them back, forcing them into a corner. Kupski with a nice angle here. I think he might have just spotted them out. There we go. Tries to go for that shot. Doesn't quite connect. But again, the pressure is all they need. They try to go for the two-man on the right-hand side, but this entire time, Kupski getting free damage off. The bubble has been used as well. Once again, Oxygen not using one of their own. We'll see if they maybe have a Nox gas grenade to toss in for this one, but the barrels are doing it. It is most hated. Going down with very little fight. Protectful did fall, but this was just clinical for Team Oxygen.
And you gotta wonder, I mean, obviously they come off the back into playing outside a wall, route into the cave, but they don't realize how tight this already is in terms of an exit, and as a result, Oxygen, I mean, it was just perfect setup. They had all the time in the world to just run into them here. Now we take a look towards Nerf on the outskirts of these caves. Got a squad ahead of them here that have officially, I believe that might be Oxygen, on their own redeploy, as they're gonna have to find wherever they'll land there.
Yeah, there is space for them though. It's 9 squads, 25 players here left in ring number 4. So I don't know if that's 2 duos or maybe just a Rats kind of running the LAN right now. But Team Nerf are in an excellent position. They've got the high ground up around Thunderwatch on the highest of grounds here at Thunderwatch, and a nice corner here that cuts off a lot of angles. They really only need to worry about maybe a Valkyrie team coming up behind them. You can see Messiah just double checking to make sure that their back is clear, and with 30 seconds left to go, they have to feel more and more comfortable being on this high ground spot.
And now, I mean, with this high ground available, I mean, they get to put down constant damage towards Tyson here, who are basically in the wide open. I mean, you talked about this is as high ground as it gets on Stormpoint, probably one of the biggest disparities that actually exists on this map, and as a result, the angle is just so dominant here for Tyson. They obviously have good control, hiding behind the Prowler's nest. Going to be utilizing the redeploy. Doesn't look like even with the high ground, they're able to find the shots.
Yeah, you saw they also chose like a really nice angle for that liftoff. Typically, you know, the Valkyrie is the most vulnerable of that composition. And so being able to kind of line it up and get that perpendicular angle to Nerf left themselves a lot less vulnerable. But Nerf, though, now have that north a bit more clear for themselves. That was their biggest threat more than anything else, that single angle. DZO having one of their best games so far, and I say that because they survived to 9th, and they've got a kill point for themselves. So things looking up for them as they are controlling a nice little choke here on the southwest side. Still, they have to be worried about that high ground, but it's going to be Thief here that does control it for the time being. I've got to imagine this is more than likely Oxygen trying to run their way on up.
Yeah, probably on a very far rotation. I'm still interested to see where Excedrin pinned themselves after their drop from below. We haven't quite gotten an answer on where that rotation ever came through, and Vizio still a misnomer, unless I'm remembering incorrectly.
Yeah, right now, though, if Excedrin are still there underneath this building, they're safe for the time being, as Oxy Ares from Tyson finding a knock onto one intelligence member here as Tyson pushed into the building now with that knock. They're going to charge for 72, gets a double, 2 for 1 with that PK shot. The knock onto Knee Reaper, and now it's down to a 3v1 for Tyson. clean this one up. A little bit of visual clutter, but it should be safe to do so. Looks like a team on the opposite side of this building, though. So they're not going to be able to completely chase. Yeah, Vizio ends up stealing that last kill as Excedrin loses out on one, and that's Vizio that ends up taking them out. We'll see if they can continue to knock out Excedrin. If they do, they can just be on cruise control for the rest of this enemy, taking a lot of damage there, only hitting the med kit throughout all of this, and he goes down to the missile storm of Born and Excedrin are knocked out. Team Vizio now in top 5, have nothing to worry about. They should be walking away with the win today.
Well, we'll see how they fare in the rest of this game. It's the performance that counts. Maybe if they show up potentially tomorrow night for Pro, that's what I want to see. Ooh. Tyson dropping low, a big crack found there here in return, but they're still taking damage from behind as they weave in and out of this bubble here. Out to the skies, but still drop down, eliminated Vizio. Their journey ends in 5th place.
They had a comfortable, I think, 20-some-odd point lead up against that 3rd place. They got top 5, so they get the 4 points there. They had, I want to say, about 4 kill points, maybe 5 kill points. So walking away with an 8-point game, 28-point lead over 3rd place, they should be safe. Right now, this is about redemption for Team Tyson, as this day hasn't gone exactly their way. This is their best performance so far here in game number 6. They are in a beautiful position to finish things off. They pick up the red, they have plenty of armor swaps, and they have utility and throwables here. Z Davis, though, does he have the interception pylon? Not quite yet. He's gonna need it to start setting up these fences.
Yeah, absolutely, especially as this zone forces them to carry their way forward towards the very, very entrance. You got to hope that another squad takes the fight towards the interior as that one is choked out. And like you said, I mean, that's the narrative that we're looking for Tyson right now. They had, actually, in my opinion, a decent start towards World's Edge, but the minute they started to approach Storm Point here, as well as kind of towards the end of World's Edge, they just weren't ever really to put their strong foot forward. And as a result, have been on the back end with what could have been potentially their greatest lead thus far. Meanwhile, hey, DZO, 1 point going into game 6, now in 4th place.
They've also got some kill points behind it. It's not about how you start the day, it's about how you finish and keeping your mental basically up there.
I like
all of that. And so if a team is still playing competitive, even though they know they're not going to hit top 2, they're not going to be placing the money, they're playing this one like the games matter. So I love seeing that kind of spirit coming out from DZO here. They want to get that feather in their cap at the end of the day, walk away with the win. We'll see. You can see, though, throughout all of this, Aves has been trying to find an opening up against them, but now they have turned around onto it. But this could be a really bad timing on the push. You can see they're taking a lot of damage now, dropping down so low. They're completely separated. Dawn just falls right into Tyson, who have set up for themselves underneath this last Thunderwatch building, and things were looking great for DZO until they split up there. And so now they're going to play this one out as a 2-man thief on the roof by himself. A defensive bombardment will take out one, and this is huge. Tyson, will they be able to finish the day off with the win? Kupski hiding and cowering behind that knockdown shield, but Joey will go ahead and back away. DZO has been knocked out. It's been Tyson picking up these kills. Oxygen out now, and it's the final 3v3. Matt Pickett will fall to Oxy Aries here, and Team Tyson will finish off the day strong, getting the win here in game number 6.
Tyson, I love seeing the win. You said it yourself with DZO, but I think it stands even more true for Tyson, keeping that mental strong, coming in with confidence, and picking up the win in the end. Obviously, there wasn't much to sustain in kills, so I don't know how far they, of course, pushed themselves up that leaderboard, but I think in terms of an overall performance for Esports Arena, especially for Season 5, as Tyson has begun to get things rolling, this is a good thing to walk away with.
Yeah, Vizio, Excedrin, Tyson all really finding their footings here. Excedrin, though, started the day off strong. Let's go ahead and take a look at everything here. DZO started the game off early down here on the south side of the map, and they were able to survive this one thanks to Thief and get that clutch.
Come through with the clutch and somehow managed to find their way on top of High Point, being one of the few teams to retain that high ground. But this was such a crucial moment for the at least track record of this game. 4 or 5 squads, I believe, competing for the outskirts of Pineapple here, Intel being one of them that really sends it full throttle and is very quickly eliminated in turn.
Yeah, this was such an awkward fight. Team Intel helps out Most Hated from the third party, allows them to actually stabilize, and then end up going down to Most Hated, who they had helped out just a second before. But again, Apex, the enemy of my enemy is only my friend for so long. You gotta end up fighting. This is a battle royale. Only one person walks away the winner here. And we're gonna find out who that is in just a moment as we get through the rest of the replays here. Most Hated, though, they have been putting on an amazing performance throughout the day. I'm glad to see that they had a better start to the tonight's games than what happened to them last week.
Yeah, able to find a sense of aggression that allowed them at least the KP in the early game that kept them competitive. Weren't able to transition, especially there in the end where they were kind of pressed out by Oxygen that eliminated them there. But I'll tell you what, a lot of squads ended up in some dicey positions, especially when we talk about that end game.
Yeah, that's going to do it for us, though. Yeso will go ahead and announce our top 2 for the evening and break down all of tonight's action. So, Yeso, thank you so much for everything you've done. Go ahead and take it away, man.
Thank you as well, Jamerson and Zephyr. So much fun to listen to you both tonight. And honestly, a hell of a 6-game block here. Really, a ton of teams firing on all cylinders tonight. We got a lot of very entertaining Apex action. We cap it off with a Team Tyson victory, a squad that has had a bit of a rough start to the season, but seemingly kind of getting things rolling here a little bit. And that's a nice way to cap off the night. While I don't believe they are a threat for one of those top 2 spots, at the very least, they get that win under their belt. So congratulations to Tyson there. Production will let me know, though, do we have that Mobile One leaderboard ready yet? We don't. Let's take a look at the champion squad, though. Look at that. That's a huge game from Tyson there in game number 6. 16 total kills for the squad. Both Joey and Oxy as well getting up over that 2,000 damage threshold. 5 kills, 5 assists, 7 kills, 7 assists for Joey and Oxy respectively. So that's a hell of a game from the team here. Tyson really ending on a high note there in game number 6. So well played from them. And we'll have to see now, can they kind of challenge for the top of the table, because really now through 3 weeks it has been the Excedrin and Vizio show, those 2 teams duking it out here through our first 3 nights of competition here this season. Now can Tyson put their names firmly in that conversation? They'll have to build on what they did there in game 6 if they want to do so. Let's check out our final Mobile One high performance moment here of the night as we take a look at how things ended here in game 6. And you know, Tyson has been one of those squads. Not many have been doing it. We've certainly seen a lot of squads experimenting with legends in this current meta, and Tyson has been one of the ones that have really brought the Wraith to the table. Of course, EU uses it quite extensively, and Z Davis has seemingly loved this pick here over the last 6 to 8 weeks, and they've been using it a lot here. And what it enables them to do here is just close off that low ground so well. They control so much space here that you could see SAF and Oxygen really kind of corralled to the edges of the circle, and it gives Tyson just so much control here in the late game. Joey gets the push up with the Mastiff, toss down the bubble, and clean up Oxygen over here. Meanwhile, the rest of the team comes in for the assist to knock out, start a fight, and close out game number 6 with a win. So well played there from the Tyson squad as they grab a victory to close out the day. But let's finally take a look at that Mobile One leaderboard. Of course, Vizio, we're looking to put the finishing touches here on an incredible performance, and they were able to do just that. Excedrin going out too early there in game number 6 to truly challenge Vizio, and Vizio grabs first place with 84 points. Excedrin behind them with 65, and Tyson not able to jump into the top 2, but right up on Excedrin's heels with that final game. Those 28 points jump them all the way up to 3rd place with 60 points. So that's a huge finish there for Tyson. Essentially half of their points on the night coming in that 6th game. So such an important showing from the squad there to close out the night. That was a ton of fun, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. I hope you enjoyed it certainly as much as we did here. It was an absolute blast. Make sure to be back here tomorrow, because guess what? We've got more Apex action tomorrow, so don't miss out on that. I'll be here. Production will be here. We'll be having a good time, so don't miss out on that. For myself, though, the entire live broadcast crew, and everybody here at Esports Arena, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you again tomorrow.